do I get mine off of zoning and onto DRB?
Oops.
What happened?
Mine says hello.
I got an extra one if somebody wants. Oh.
I think is there an Adobe link at the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah, hit the Acrobat, and then it should be a link for DRB 6-21.
No, I guess I hit the wrong one. Like that one? I think,
No. DRB.
Katie's in the house.
right over here.
There you go. Yeah, hit that. Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board Workshop. Today is Friday, June 18th, 2021. Good morning, thank you. Let's take a few minutes this morning to go through our agenda and review the applications that we'll be hearing at the public hearing starting at 9 o'clock. All right, just a gentle reminder for all of those, if you'll make sure your microphones are turned on. All right, so that our very own Lauren can hear us speaking. Okay, our first applicant we're going to review this morning during our public hearing will be Up on the Roof. So we've got two signs to look at that they have submitted. Up on the Roof. And this is the Liberty Hall building on 33 South Main Street. I did notice that there's a variance being applied for.
This is workshop, so you'll be next.
So Brett, I guess they're allowed to have one sign, correct? One building sign?
No, this building has different rules because it has a capital condition.
Oh, okay.
So, let me get there.
I noticed there's some sort of variance sign in front of Liberty Hall.
Okay. So, here's Main Street. So they're doing a perpendicular on both corners here.
All right, hold on a second.
Please hold.
There we go. We're trying to turn on our monitors.
Oh.
All right.
This is a fiasco, this one.
What? All right, Pat. Pat, you good? All right, everybody good? All right,
Well, who?
we are good.
Can we proceed?
Yes.
So, Main Street, so they're doing two opposite corners on the perpendicular signs. This shows a nice, location basically of height on the building and whatnot, and then,
Too fast.
God, I'm getting dizzy.
I know, right? There's the sign itself. Pretty basic. 12 square feet.
And a bracket, right? There it is.
And there's the bracket and the
Oh, I
light.
like that bracket. Kind of different.
So, just curious, where the entrance to get to the restaurant on the roof, where's the entrance or where's the,
I'll go back up here.
Okay.
Like you did one more time. It is here.
so, all right, that's the lobby that you would,
Alley between Smoke Jack and that, you'll edit it. The lobby enters here and the elevator's right there.
okay.
Cool.
I think they ought to, on the U, it should have an arrow pointing up.
I like that.
The old fashioned hand like that.
Yeah, like that.
So one of those signs is kind of mounted at a 45-degree angle off the building.
Yeah, I think that's the one on the corner here.
Okay.
And then the other one sits just because of the way the building rolls. It sits square.
Okay. I guess I'm a little concerned on how they're going to mount that. If they haven't thought about where that sign was going to go when they built the building, it may be a little difficult to put it on a,
So they
Angled
haven't been
corner
to
like
council
that.
yet, right?
I'm sorry?
They haven't been to council for the variance? Or weren't they going for a variance?
No.
I thought I saw,
Yeah,
Sign out.
that's what they
there's a
had.
There's
sign
a-
out.
Is there a variance sign out there?
There's a
Yes,
sign
there
out.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have alcohol.
Yeah, oh, that's.
Oh, it's
that's-
tax.
Ah.
Oh,
We told the waitress wrong then, didn't we?
Where's it? They have a blade sign? I mean, they're wanting a blade sign.
Nothing wrong with a little rumor spreading.
Well, they already have a blade sign, don't they?
I thought so, too.
Yeah.
they want
Oh, so they want another what
They
blade?
were replacing.
Oh,
That's right.
Okay.
So.
okay.
I think this is pretty standard. I would have approved it at.
This is going to be a bit confusing, though, where the two signs are is not where the entrance is.
It is, but,
I mean-
it's not really.
It's like a speakeasy.
It's going to be a bit strange, right?
Gotta
You're
guess
gonna-
Part of
where
the
you're going.
part of
Because
the
you go to
fun
where the sign is to go in, you know?
If they go downstairs.
Probably harder for people when they leave to find their way out.
The elevator only goes up.
I think they have exit signs for that, so I think,
No, again,
It'll be
I'm
harder
just,
for Pat when he.
I'm just concerned about the mounting of the 45-degree sign because I think they're gonna need something more substantial, a more substantial mounting plate than they're showing.
It's almost like they got
Because of
crafted.
the angle or just?
Well, you've got it, you're putting it on a corner of brick, all right? And it's a pretty heavy sign, so I think that those plates are gonna have to go way far
Oh, I see what you're saying.
out
I see what
to
you're
get to some substance that's in the wall to anchor it. Plus the fact, it's pretty big, so it's gonna be hanging, the wind's blowing and
Yeah.
there's gonna be some, pretty good
There's
forces on it,
Through that alley, you do get the.
so. Okay, anything else up on the roof?
just with the size of that sign, is that an appropriate size for, it's 5 feet? I know it's within code,
Size of
but
the building?
it sounds big, but
Well,
I know it's hard to visualize when it's up like that.
that's a pretty big cornice up there too, so, it's
Kind of
above
asking
the
the sign experts here, because I'm not one of those, so. I think 5 feet's good?
For me, it's just, I mean, it's hard to tell without having one up there that size.
I know, because
But
how big is Taffer? I guess we don't know how big Taffer's sign is.
those are,
Yeah, no, it's.
Small, and they want to go bigger too.
French roast.
Okay.
Guess that's an example.
Are is there a maximum size for a blade sign?
Which, I mean, would match the building.
in this case, they're using them as wall signs. They're not using them as the code allows a little perpendicular sign.
Okay,
So the council variance set some square footages based on when it went through zoning. They basically said, we're gonna have these signs and these are the square footages that we're proposing.
Do not
oh,
like.
so this has a variance?
Not really, no.
You just said the council variance,
Well, the council set the conditions.
okay. So there
Went
can,
through the zoning.
so there are conditions on this sign then?
No.
Oh,
They
then I'm
s-
confused.
They showed, when it went through zoning for the building to go there, they showed, this is what we're thinking for signage. And they showed a footprint, they showed the number of signs that they were thinking, and they had some square footages there. They didn't have an idea, the council was gonna say, that's part of your package. So now they're sort of stuck with that. So it did limit them some, which is why now to get a 16 square foot sign instead of 12, they gotta go to variance.
Further question, this sign, does it comply with the sign? It looks really, really plain, I don't know what it's on or anything like that, but does that line up with the sign?
Well, it's routed, so it would,
So, yes, it does. Okay,
say it would, yeah.
okay.
Let's look at the details on it. Here it is, double-sided HDU routed painted black. So the black parts will stand proud of the white part. It'll be, I don't know, 2.5 inches is what the sign thickness is. So I think that'll be fine up there with what we just went through and did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the bracket is what brings the interest. Because, you know, we were like, make your signs interesting. I think they could say the bracket is what.
Yeah,
Exactly, exactly. So I think it's good, and I tried to get them to do a little bit more, but they want simple and.
yeah,
So-
they even went simple with the name, up on the roof.
So Brett, the cable part, which sign is that on? Yeah.
This here,
Yeah.
I would guess both of
I would
them
think so.
probably just show.
Based on the
this is
size.
mounting support details.
That's the only thing I'm not really a fan of. You know, it seems like that angled cable system would be something else as support.
I'm not,
It didn't bother me.
I'm okay with it, but I am just reading that I don't know that they're gonna paint it, but I think it needs to be black. Or it needs to be whatever color the bracket is.
It says it's stainless steel support cable.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that that's just plain silver and it.
If it is, that'll go away though. Silver in the sky, you probably won't even see it. You'll be attracted to everything else, but
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things, do you call it out or do you try to make it go away?
Or change it.
But silver on a
Or change
brown
it.
building,
That's your,
it's almost
that's y'all's,
like it should be a bronze, if anything. Because the building is brown.
Whatever makes it go away.
I think stainless goes away.
It's not going away.
Right, but just blend in.
Okay,
Won't even notice it.
all right.
I better notice.
I will. God.
I'm gonna point at it every time. Hope I go there with you.
You turn it off.
Just don't rear end anyone as you're complaining.
Okay, anything else about up on the roof? All right, then let's look at the TPA 400, Lakeview at Haynes Bridge.
all right, so everybody's familiar with the site, correct?
Right.
So nice site plan here, Kingsbridge Road is out here to the right. Morrison Parkway is up here to the top, and then Lakeview is the curved one. We've already approved this existing, it's up, office building right here, and it's parking deck. What we're looking at today is gonna be this multifamily building, hardscape, landscape areas, and, project signage. I'm not sure, I don't think I saw specific building signage in there, but, so that would be a package that they would come back with at some point. They've got plenty of time to figure that out, but, wayfinding, that kind of things, landscape, hardscape areas.
Drones?
Good morning.
So we're going to approve the amphitheater or the pocket park, right? Because that's basically hardscape, lighting, landscaping.
So some things that y'all may not be aware of just yet, but are very important to this site. This is the Alpha Loop. It goes through here. The Alpha Loop did run through the center like this, and they went back to council at some point recently. Got that changed to run out here. It sounds now, after a meeting that staff had with the developer last week, I believe it was, that they're considering using some impact fee credits and actually building most of this part of the loop. So from the loop, that makes all of this that we see back here all just as important.
But not just that, though, you also, you know, DOT will eventually take streets down. So you're gonna see it from
DOT
the
may
ramps
take some-
and
may
everything
take some
else.
Stuff, so.
They're doing it up and coming, so they'll do it down here.
That's clearly obvious. One of the statements that I like to make when folks, say, well, we're gonna use this landscaping and things like that is we need nice buildings, but we can't rely on landscaping to hide bad architecture. Case in point with DOT, they're coming along and they're wiping out, in some areas, 100 feet of tree coverage along 400.
Up and coming, they did that, and now you
We're
see
gonna see
everything.
the backs of lots of stuff. So it is really important, even though, somebody says, why back up the
For now.
So, they're very cognizant of it though, and they've got some really cool features in the building. There's a paseo, and I may be not quite getting this in the right area, but I believe it's right here. There's a paseo that runs through the building. It comes out to the loop. They're gonna do some cool stuff right in here for, folks that live in the building. So some really, really neat stuff. So some important corners are here, and down here. But this facade, you know, will have retail at the bottom. This facade, and this facade is all the multifamily. You will catch some pretty good glimpses of this part of the building here, Ainsbridge Road. You'll see, you'll see all of it along here. They do have some future retail out here as well as this area. We've heard that there's maybe some movement on that, but that'll be up at a future thing. Then the townhome site, the townhomes will be reviewed by staff. I guess there's another little part over here. Office building yet, they're working on some tenants. I heard Kathy say the other day that there was somebody that she's gonna actively seek out, that's out in the world looking, so she's gonna, and it's a pretty exciting thing, so she's gonna try to seek somebody out to help move that along. So it's a really nice project.
This multifamily is retail on the first floor, that's why we're looking at these buildings, but not the townhomes.
Right. Retail on the first floor, only on this elevation. Only on this interior street elevation. Here's a little bit of a blow up. This is the amenity area down to the amphitheater.
Pocket park.
Nice pocket park. I think this is a really nice transition between here. One thing that staff kind of talked about and that we've seen kind of come up in some of the other areas, we talk about, and I just said it, landscaping, softness, helping or not hiding bad architecture, but it also can be, hardscape can be too much that needs some help, and we've seen that in a couple areas that we've got all hardscape on the ground, we've got a great big fountain, we got some walls and all this, and yeah, people hang out there a lot, but there's no landscaping in it. It's just all hard surface stuff. And these two areas right here, we want you guys to really kind of focus on, and we've talked to them about it a little bit. But they're pretty good sized areas, and we just want to make sure that there's some decent, some decent softening there.
Say, Brett, one of the issues we talked about when we saw the first building come before us in the parking deck was having some 360 Tech Village design standards. Where have they produced those yet?
It's in the conditions.
I think that would come for the retail side, I would say.
Wait, that would come from the retail side?
I think the design standards that the design standards that I think council was looking at would be for individual tenants to have a thing. This is covered by the eco district for the architecture and the
Condition 16.
theory that was brought up, at council.
Design standards will be presented to staff and the design review board for review and approval.
I would say that would be like what we did for Avalon. We did the design standards only covered the retail tenants. The design standards for Avalon don't cover the buildings.
But we talked about it when we did the first building.
We talked about that there would be that design standard coming, but that first building we went back to what was presented at council as here's kind of the theme of the project.
Okay, so I'm confused. So there aren't any design standards for Tech 360?
Not yet,
So we follow the Eco District design guidelines?
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Avalon's the biggest thing that I can think of, that, you know, the multifamily buildings and the office buildings in Avalon don't follow their design standards. Their design standards were simply put together for signage and, the retail tenants.
This building has retail tenants on the
This
first.
building has retail tenants, so they'll need to develop that standard as to what they're gonna do for signage for them, what their, you know, what their intent is. Now, they're bringing a lot of hard brick and things like that right to the ground. Not that that couldn't be covered by a tenant, but they're bringing some architectural features to the ground, where Avalon, the only thing they brought to the ground was concrete columns. And so the tenants were forced to completely develop an exterior package. And now as new tenants come in out there, they're reusing some and others, you know, Nike is coming out there, they're completely wiping out their facade where they're going and bringing in all new. So the design standards would go for the retail portions.
Is there other retail other than,
Yeah, there's
in this
other,
building?
yeah, there's retail,
Just trying to find any other retail on the site plan.
there's retail out here on
I
the
see,
corner.
future retail development.
Yep. And then retail along here.
So what you're saying then, the 360 standards are only going to apply to the retail? There won't be standards for,
When they develop a design yeah, because the buildings, the buildings aren't gonna change. The parent buildings, you might say,
So design standards really only going to apply to one building,
yeah,
and the lower part of this.
in the lower part of
multifamily.
this building.
All the retail.
And when you read this thing, it sounds like they were looking for standards for the site, right? It's furniture and benches, trash receptacles, lighting,
Well, I think,
fountains.
yeah, I think a lot of that, and we, you know, a lot of that follows the eco district kind of thing and the hardscape and stuff. So that necessarily wouldn't go with the architecture of the building as far as that, a design standard for those. But again, that's a thing of, here's what we're thinking, and if they replace it, they're likely just to replace, you know, in the future, they would just, under a maintenance thing, just replace with what they have. You know, and if they can't, then they would, you know, they would need to meet the standard that they bring, you know, forward.
so then we need to be looking at the Eco District guidelines then.
Which we did, as we did for the current office building. If we weren't gonna do, so if it would have been a requirement to have a design standard for every building there, we would have had to have the design standard before we did the parking deck in the office building for the last one. We wouldn't have been able to develop that.
Okay?
Make sense?
Okay.
Follow me?
Okay.
Yeah, I would just think whatever they do here with regard to bike racks and benches, and you'd want that to be,
It's gonna be across the site.
you'd want it to be site-wide.
Yes,
right? So-
absolutely.
Okey-doke. All right.
They've brought some really cool stuff. I mean, some of these images, you know, are almost right out of the standard of some of the North Point guideline thing that they're bringing forward, which Nelson helped develop for the city, the North Point guideline, so. Some very cool stuff here. Really excited about some of the signage and things that they're gonna bring forward.
Palm trees?
We had several conversations about that.
But we're not looking at signage today because it's going to be a package.
Well, site signage. We can look at site signage that's in the stuff that's in here. The retail will be in the design standard.
So now we've got the document that were just held up, but the North Point overlay guidelines, overlay code applies,
Yes.
right? So we have sort of.
Unless there was a specific architectural item in the council conditions, which there
Which would,
wasn't,
right.
unless I
Okay.
read it, that said, you know, it had to have this or something that wouldn't be in the North Point
Because
guidelines.
for example, the North Point overlay requires, you know, I think it's 2 feet of landscaping around monument signs, right? This monument sign doesn't have that, has this green wall, so it's,
Yeah, so
Right.
it's not, they're not following the guidelines.
not really, yeah.
Well, and at that point, is it a better design than, you know, so that's, we can always use that.
That's why there are guidelines that we get to.
That's right.
Well, the document is, and this, you know, this has been a point of confusion for me, right? That document is called code. The title of the document is North Point Overlay Code.
Yeah.
Which normally we can't
Oh,
give variances to code,
sure.
right? So
They have to do it.
I'm never quite sure how to interpret that document. Is that guidelines or is it code? Right?
I think you should interpret it as guideline.
As guideline,
And if there's something that's in it that needs to be interpreted as a code, let's just say there's a point in there that says if you're gonna have hard coat stucco, it can't be more than 60 feet wide. And it comes to a point where y'all say, well, here's a 70-foot area that really just needs to be one material, then Kathy would have to interpret and say, can they say that 70 feet is okay?
Okay.
Because it looks appropriate, or do we need to send it to council and say, DRB, you know, has graced this, you know, they need a variance for that. So that'd be a Kathy thing if there was something were to come up.
Okay.
Okay. And Brett, there's some sculptures that they mentioned here too. Is that going before the art commission?
Actual sculptures, yes, will be go in front of the art commission. So that kind of puts a little bit of a tough spot on you guys as far as what the sculpture may go on and surround it. So that's going to be a little bit of a work in progress kind of thing, you know, as for that. But because typically the art commission would only, you know, the art commission has only had one meeting so far. So typically they're just going to look at the art.
They gotta start somewhere.
What holds the art is really us, and does it match the hardscape? Does it go along with the site? Things like that, you know.
Well, in which case, if there's a question in there, then staff would determine whether it comes back here or not.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But, you know, one thing we looked at when we looked at this art and stuff back here that has nothing to do with this project, but art can change. But if you make a hard base that goes with that art, a pedestal or something like that, that's likely not gonna change. It could, but it's likely not. So, okay. We're getting really close to 9, and we've not really talked about the buildings a lot. I think they're gonna have some more substantial elevations that they've brought. They did have a meeting with us. Gosh, I can't remember, was it last week or early this week? It was last Thursday. We had a meeting and with staff and the developer with the architect, and some things that are actually here that we just can't see because we can't get zoomed in enough, or they thought were there, but then when they zoomed in and said, wait a minute, that's supposed to be there, but it's not. So I think they've got some much better elevations that they're gonna be showing you today. Some key call-outs with those. So here's your retail side elevation. This is on that Lakeview Parkway Road. I'm especially excited about these right here, and I really hope that the developer requires the tenants that go in there maintain that tall glass ceiling height. You know, we had a couple in some other centers that had really tall windows on the front here, and then they came in and said, well, we're gonna put a ceiling in at 12 feet and block that all off and make those, you know, opaque windows. It's like, well, that really takes away from all of it. So I'm putting that out in the world. They've got some pretty cool corner features here that they've tweaked up just a little bit. Trying to think, this is one of them here, and this elevation that they had kind of two big corner features and then a really nice tree area that kind of centered that small elevation side that's along Haynesbridge Road. That's the shortest elevation along Haynesbridge.
East is Haynesbridge, right?
East should be Haynesbridge.
East is Haynesbridge.
Yeah. I always get confused with that.
Yeah.
Which, because Haynesbridge crosses 400 and 400 goes north and south, and
Right.
it's just,
Maybe in future applications, they go east elevation and then whatever road or something. Then there's never a doubt.
yeah,
We always struggle with that, right? Trying to figure out.
yeah, and
basic
I think I might have asked these guys that, just put the street names there.
Yeah.
This is Haynesbridge Road elevation, this is the Lakeview elevation. Maybe for you
people that-
architects and landscape architects, that may come more natural, but for me, I'd want to see, what's the street? Yeah.
Now look at the site plan.
So they've got a lot of balconies, which is really, really exciting. One thing that we talked about with them, this elevation here, looked a little more pronounced when they showed it to council. They showed a very, a rendering, a really cool rendering to council. They kind of had a recessed area here, and this part of the glass on the corner was all floor to ceiling. No, it didn't get broken up by the handrail. So there's kind of that thought of, well, it looks better in the rendering, but the rendering is just that. It's a rendering, and this comes down to the reality of it. So, yeah. So if it is a balcony, you need a handrail. If the balcony is recessed, and this glass, this portion here comes more out to the front where it's not balcony, then you get rid of the handrail, and so they're going to focus a little bit on that. I know they're raising the brick in some areas. This material here is a concrete material that the office building's got a lot of that concrete material in the office building. The materials that they've chosen here are very nice, a nice selection. Goes very well with the eco district guidelines. Anybody have any specific questions we want to talk about? This area, I think, this is an area that I want to say faces the lake, sort of, and the greenway side, so it's kind of the back side. Sort of what we have out front here that faces the park area on the front side of this apartment building. Those apartments are recessed, and they have a patio up there, a covered patio area.
This faces the pocket park.
Yeah. Cool feature there, so.
Okay.
They've got some lighting standards they've shown here. There's a lighting package in there, I believe. Here's some sightline stuff. I mean, at 5 stories, we really, unless it's almost sitting on the parapet wall, we shouldn't probably really see it.
Okay, any questions, comments? All right. Well, let's adjourn our workshop session, go get our coffee cups filled, come back in 5 minutes, and we'll get started with our public hearing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going that way. I'm swimming upstream.
Hit somebody with that.
Oh, going on, Mr. Owens? Doing all right? All right, you.
So Katie, who's your speaker today?
Kirk Driscoll.
Oh, good.
That's why Richard was late, because he was talking a bit about today. So he's got quite a story.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Drug and
yeah.
alcohol recovery.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
And so he just finished, or he's just about to wrap his district governor year at
Oh,
Rotary.
okay.
And so he was a speaker and was talking all about that. It was pretty cool. Very inspiring Rotarian story.
Local government in person, Wilson Oswald.
Brett, nice to meet you.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for all your help.
Yeah, no problem.
Should I use this mic or?
Yeah, you can use that one right there. Let me turn that other. Turn this overhead on and you can walk them through. You put the stuff on this overhead, they'll see it on their screen, and we'll see it on the,
Okay.
on the, YouTube channel too.
Oh, we have, it's the same thing as what you have on there, so you just follow, you can follow what you follow.
I can, if you want me to do
Yeah.
that, I can do that.
I think that's better. I'm just using this as reference,
Okay.
unless we need to.
Well, I'll
What
flip
do you
this
think?
on in case we want to
Well,
do
okay,
something.
perfect. That's a good idea. In case you need to look further on something.
Sometimes it's a little bit easier for you to walk through it because you've got kind of a talk of how you want to go through it. And for me to back and forth, you know, it's like you guys know your package probably better than I do, but this one's pretty easy. Like if it were this one, I'm like,
yeah.
I don't want it.
Exactly. It's easy, but the confusing part is like, we finally found out what actually is allowed.
Yeah.
You know, that's the part that I'm gonna walk through, that this is like, the development in this building's been very confusing.
Just gonna test this, Brett.
Yeah, go ahead.
Looks like an interesting property.
There you go.
Yeah, which I love how they did that. Where is that?
It's right on Highway 9, let's see here. If you pass Mayfield. It's really cool. You go
On
over
the,
there.
is it on the other side of the,
Same side as Monkey,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but just
okay.
further down. Yeah, it's really cool. They do
But
a
like,
lot of
it looks like
different
almost like a greenhouse in the front. I mean, it's all
Yes.
glass.
things.
They just came before us and they painted it.
Yeah.
They just painted? Yeah.
Okay.
But it was an Asian man that presented
I don't
it.
know, my wife's got something.
Maybe he was the.
Yeah, he was the owner.
James Schenker, everybody.
Brett, Lauren,
Painted it, yeah.
we ready? Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board meeting. Today is Friday, June 18th, 2021. Glad to see all your smiling faces this morning, so glad you're here. All right, our first order of business is roll call. Let's see, everybody is here this morning, so welcome. And then we have one of our alternates is present with us, Mr. LeCain. Good morning, good to see you. Glad you're here. Glad you're here this morning, so. Okay, a gentle reminder for those of us on the dais and in the audience, if you'll silence or turn off your phones, your electronic devices, and then make sure your microphones are on for those fellow board members. Make sure your mics are on when you speak so that Lauren can hear your pretty voices, so to speak. All right.
As a reminder, when your microphones are on permanently, it's catching everything you're talking about. So as you're having your little, kind of sidebar discussions, it may be sort of overdoing or muting who is asking a question to the person. So the best solution is turn your mic on and off when you want to be heard. But
Okay, very good. Thank you for that reminder. Okay, if everyone will stand, face the flag, and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance this morning, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, do we have any items from staff this morning? No?
seems like I had what I was supposed to say.
All right.
I don't
You'll think
remember
of
right
it-
now, so
You'll think of it about halfway through our
yeah,
meeting, so.
I'll try to jot it down or something if I do think.
Okay, any items from board members this morning?
Yeah, I had a question. The sculpture out in front of Coalition,
Yes.
that's really looking ragged.
Oh,
Weren't they
the
going
A?
to change that like every 6 months to a year? or
There's
something?
really been a lot of back and forth on that lately because the developer did that and paid for that to get done and then turned over all rights to the HOA. The HOA says, well, that was a developer thing. We don't need to maintain it. It's not part of our building. So it's a back and forth. I believe there is a plan for it actually to change
Yeah, it looks terrible right now.
very soon, hopefully, or go away, at least for now. But, yeah, so there's some back and forth. And again, that was one of our very early on, if y'all remember, that's
There's a lot of issues.
one of our very first sculpture art pieces that we really did.
Well, I remember them standing up front saying about
Yeah.
every 6 months, this is going to change, we're going to do
Yeah.
a new sculpture and,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay,
so that was a learning curve again.
okay.
I mean, if it's on HOA property now, it's their responsibility.
It's on city-
Technically, it's not on HOA property,
Right,
which
city.
further,
Oh, it's on city property.
on city property, which further
Sidewalk.
makes a problem.
Okay, if I were them, I'd say the same thing then.
Yeah.
So who's on first, I guess?
Exactly. It was a requirement of the development to do, and we allowed it there, but that doesn't make it our responsibility, so it's,
The
it'll
company
get,
that committed, the company that committed went away.
Yeah.
They're done, they're gone.
they're gone. Yeah, so,
All right, learning point, yeah, okay.
Okay, very good. Anything else from board members this morning? I will say, just for Lauren's, she's still learning our voices and who we are, so make sure your motions are pretty clear and concise for her. Although I have to say, the meeting minutes that she took from last meeting were very impressive, so good job there from our May meeting, so.
We
all
have
right.
that, happy belated birthday to Mr. LeCain.
Oh, that's why
Because
he's
last
here
week-
this morning.
Yes,
Okay.
he wants to be recognized.
Yeah. Happy birthday, belated birthday. 21, all right, very good. Anything else? Okay. So let's, next item is to review and approve our meeting minutes from May 21st, 2021. Has everybody had a chance to look at those minutes?
They
Okay.
were so thorough, I'm still reading them.
I tried to find something, I couldn't.
Yeah,
That's impressive, Lauren, because
Yes.
Frank always finds something wrong.
yeah, he always does.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes from last month's meeting.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Owens, a second by Ms. Palmer. Any further comments or questions about the motion to approve the meeting minutes? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board meeting minutes of May 21st, 2021, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed, no opposition. Minutes are approved, 7-0. Very good. All right, thank you for that. All right. First up is Up on the Roof. You are here, set up. Good morning.
There you go.
If you'll introduce yourselves, speak into the microphone, and then give us an overview of what we have in our packet today, please.
All right, thank you all so much for your time today. My name is Wilson Oswald. I'm with Up on the Roof, owner and operator. We're also franchisees of Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in the southeast, so we have the Ruth's Chris Steakhouse on Haynesbridge as well. This is Lewis Holland. He is with Altier Signs, so I'm going to kind of run it, and if you have any particular questions about signs, then he's your man. One thing I wanted to say first is, one, thank you for all your time. Also, I want to thank the city of Alpharetta and all of its officials in this process. This Liberty Hall has been an interesting building to try and put a rooftop on. We've been trying since 2019 to make it work, and whether it be Brett, Kathy Cook, Philip Seabolt, the thousands of city officials, we've built 13 properties, and I have never seen a more helpful city officials and more communicative city official team and building team. So thank y'all for that. Whatever work y'all are doing in the city of Alpharetta, I think y'all should be very proud. So thank y'all for that.
Thank you. Thank you for sticking with us.
Oh, y'all have done great. So the signs for Up, we're proposing two signs, two 12-square-foot signs per what the city has allowed and our landlord has allowed. The locations are on the back side of the building and the front side in the alley where between Smoke Jack and Liberty Hall. As you can see on this sheet, it's where the two arrows are. Are there any questions about placements of those signs? I know the entrance you'll have to walk through and go to the elevator lobby. Since it is a shared building, that's where the landlord allowed us to put a sign.
So can you go in the doors where the signs are and get?
You cannot. There are no doors where the signs are, but it will lead.
That's right, there are no doors.
It'll lead you to the correct area, because our entrance is from the main lobby. So that we don't have a separate entrance because it's on the roof.
On the roof.
Yeah.
They'll find it.
And the landlord
Yeah.
found out where they had to be, which is the south back corner.
All right.
The north
Lewis,
front.
if you'll speak into the microphone.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
The landlord dictated where they had to be, and one's on the south rear corner and one's on the front north corner.
Okay. I guess it's good there's not doors there, so
Yeah.
otherwise somebody'd be going in the wrong door.
Put
looking.
fake doors in. This is fine.
So this is the back corner elevation on the first floor, as shown from your first page. Are there any questions regarding that before we get into the actual signs?
Oswald, this would be the parking lot entrance, correct, or parking lot side right here?
Correct. So there's that kind of shared parking lot in the back. So that'd be, so you can kind of direct yourself. And as I said, it's where the landlord allowed us to put that sign. And then this is kind of a, basically if you're looking, I think, pretend you're standing on the Commons, the main green, and just looking straight at Liberty Hall. This is kind of where those signs would line up. The back one will it's kind of interesting in elevations always, as you know, looking at plans. The back one's kind of here, and the front one's, if that makes any sense to anybody.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate people going in the wrong doors? And if so, do you see any possibility there would be signage down below somewhere that says not the entrance to this or entrance to up on the roof, go this way or go that way?
I would love to put as many signs as I possibly can put up to direct people to the door. So whatever we're allowed on signage wise. I know I've talked to some city officials on, with that alleyway, there's some, we gotta be smart about table signs, those like chalkboard signs, directing people in flow just to make sure it meets all public safety regulations with those signs. But our plan is to really get people to that lobby, and whether with signage and temporary signage, which would be approved by y'all and made sure that we can do it through public safety and city. So yes, I think it is gonna kind of be a speakeasy type entrance, even though we are a restaurant. But where we're allowed to put signs because this building has such a complicated history, it's kind of what we're living.
Most of your other up on the roofs, actually, there's only one, right?
So there's one currently we're in development.
And you have similar situation.
Yeah.
When I looked at the signage for that one, it's like there's one sign and it's actually in the middle of a concrete wall. It's like, well, where is the entrance? So they're used to dealing with it. I think the bigger problem is gonna be the taffers, and when they come in and say, oh, we're not up in the, no, it's around the corner, but.
Well, and that's where I'm at, is like the other tenants could very well just say, put a sign that says, this is not up on the roof, go this way, or.
Yeah.
Currently, there's only one other tenant.
That's where
on
you've
the
gotta be.
bottom level is gonna be, just taffers. There's that suite that's
But there's
right
two doors, right? There's a back door and there's a front door.
to taffers.
Other entries, I should say.
At the building.
So,
Off the parking lot, there's a doorway, right? In this elevation, that's not a door?
this one?
No, center of the building.
Caffers
Oh,
has two.
this goes upstairs
that's-
though.
Yeah.
But it's
There's
an entrance
there's
to
a
the,
stairway inside.
Oh, this
That
is
goes upstairs.
it's an entrance to the building.
So, yeah, that could be confusing there, and they may do a little bit of something
well-
there. but-
Goes into
I'm beleaguering the point, but anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah. Is there anything on the main door that indicates that's where you go in for up on the roof? Anything at all?
Not currently. We've got some stuff in our lease that we can, we're planning on having, during our restaurant times, having some activation in that lobby to make sure we don't disturb any of the other tenants.
Yeah.
Whether that's a portable host stand or stuff, so there will be activity there to get people to up on the roof.
Brett, do they do temporary, like a sandwich board that sits on the
think
sidewalk,
that's what
take it
he's-
down at night, put it out?
yeah, that's what he's
during the day?
talking about with the chalkboard style signs that they'll have out there.
Yeah, and that's our plan. We just want to make sure that that works for the city before, we've been in some municipalities where that becomes we want, make sure the city wants it instead of the city doesn't want it, if that makes any sense.
Can you put anything on the door glass, on that door
No, But
back
that
there?
door goes into
But it's
other-
all other tenants too, so it's a tough, I think the portable host stand is probably the best solution of it, and that also allows people to, if there's a wait, you didn't go up the elevator lobby to find out there's a wait, and then you have to come back down, and, so there's some benefits to that, and I think once people know, you're gonna know.
Well, that's what Rich was saying. When you go in, you get lost once, and then after that, you're
Well,
good to go.
you said temporary signs maybe at the beginning.
Yeah.
And there is an option to do that, that I'm still making sure, and I'm not sure if it's through you, to do some projection lighting signs in front of the door when we're open. But of those sidewalk signs that I've seen, you've probably seen in Charleston, South Carolina. But I want to make sure before I've gone down there, that road, where I want to get physical signs and then also make sure that that works for the city and y'all. So I don't know if I know some municipalities don't allow that.
What the landlord also did is inside the doors where the elevator is, they have a directory on the wall for what's on, is each on each floor. They're allowed to go on that, but they said they could not have a directory outside.
This is probably the best shot. Their entrance is down on the other side of this little projection right here. So
What I find weird there is there's no sign there saying that's how you get to this establishment. So
They'll figure it out.
All right, let's,
I'm just trying to prevent this whole signage fiasco.
So this is the other elevation from the street. And then I think, are there any questions on placement?
Oh, see this one? Wait, yeah, actually.
Yeah,
if you-
go for
If you could, because, go back, all right, so we see this one right here where the dumpster is. That's the back
one
where
on
the,
this back corner back here,
right, and then scoops, where's the scoop and all that's back
right there.
Okay, now go back to some earlier photos, please. Keep going.
This one is the alley and it's going right here.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Hello.
Right there. Why is it showing right there over Taffers?
This
is just-
is going away.
Yeah, that was just showing the only other blade sign that's on the building.
Yeah.
Okay, see, that's where I was confused. So there's not one going right above Taffers.
No, and that's why at the top of the page, I noted that it was the only blade sign that's on the building, so we're trying to line up, similar to that, so it's on the same plane.
Okay,
This actually is the sign that Taffers is filed for. They're gonna remove this and one of these and do a larger sign here is what
like
they're
perpendicular
blade
sign?
type?
proposing, a blade style, yeah.
Okay.
That's
Right,
just
thank
the
you.
area that
And
the landlord wanted to try to
That's
keep
where
up.
we were confused. Or
Okay.
I was confused.
Sorry.
Pat, too.
okay, let's look at the sign itself.
Awesome. So it's 12 square feet, and I'll let Louis talk about the actual sign, and he has a sample of what it will, the kind of material of it.
Basically, your typical sandblasted HDU urethane foam sign. It'll be double-sided. That'll hang from an aluminum bracket with gooseneck fixtures. The frame and the gooseneck fixtures will be painted to match the building, which is Sherwin-Williams color called out on the drawings. And then the sign itself will be black and white. This is inch-and-a-half material, but it'll be 2.5-inch material. Then off the top of it, the engineer requested that we have a guide wire that goes from the end of the pole back to the building, so that's what's shown on the last page. But if you have any questions, just let me know. One more thing on the LED lights. I talked to Brett, he said we had to keep it in the 3,500 Kelvin range. So that's noted on there as well.
Okay, questions for the applicant?
The image that you have up there now, you're showing two supports, you're showing four supports to the horizontal.
Those are gussets that I designed to be similar to what the scallops are on the building, just to give it a little bit of flair to it and try to match the building.
These, are you talking about these, Mr. Owens?
Yes.
That's the lights.
That's a light.
That's the lights. I
Okay.
thought you meant right where the pole comes to the wall.
Pardon me. That
Those
was
are goosenecks.
embarrassing oversight on my part. Thank you.
I thought they were like,
So now how is the sign itself attached to the vertical post?
What it'll have is 2-inch tubes that come down. That'll have a metal plate to it that'll basically wrap the signs. So that way it's secure in there.
Oh, so that you're gonna wrap the sign with that?
With the 1-inch aluminum flat bar.
Oh, I see, okay.
That way, because the material, we don't want it to sway or break in the wind, so it'll sort of support it, be
So
like
it
a
won't-
frame around it. Yes, sir.
okay, it won't sway.
And it'll all be welded together, so it won't swing.
One of the concerns I have is, especially the sign that's on the 45-degree sign, it's on the corner. So your mounting plates, you've got to make sure there's some substance behind those mounting plates to anchor that to.
Correct. We've got with the building landlord, and we're using what's called a chemical anchor, where you drill the hole, you insert an epoxy into it, and then you put your thread rod in it.
So you're going into the brick then?
Yes, yes, sir.
You
And
think
it'll
the
have
brick's
a
gonna be able?
on the corner one, it has a V-shaped plate, and then it has a guide wire that goes up as well.
You think
Where
that's
the one
gonna
that's flat on the wall is a flat one, and I think they attached the engineer drawings that we had stamped, and to make sure that we're meeting all the engineering codes.
So essentially, you're using epoxy anchors is what you're
Correct,
doing?
yes, sir.
Okay, just want to make sure it's.
Yeah,
gonna-
the highest shear strength that we could get,
Okay.
versus a lagging shield, or we can't get behind it because we're at the corner of the building, so we can't thread right it through.
Okay, all right.
Can I see the color for the frame? And the goosenecks are what color?
Same color.
Okay.
Everything will be the same color frame-wise.
And the color is to match all the colors on that first floor of the building.
Matches this color?
So that's
Okay.
that's what we're doing.
Yes.
Anyone?
Nope.
Anyone?
I was good.
Basically, there's three colors on the building. The roof has a ceramic bronze metal. The building woodwork has this color brown, and then there's black wrought iron around the building as well.
There was a question about the cable that's holding up, the anchor cable there. Can you get that in the same color as you're showing us?
If you need to, we were just looking at that. I can get it in black. I can see if I can get it in brown. If not, we can probably paint it, or if not, put a sleeve over it.
Okay.
Yeah, like a piece of tubing that goes over the cable, so that way I can paint that the same color. But yes, we'll make it match.
Yeah. Would a sleeve be allowed to match the below?
Yeah, I think if you could get a sleeve or whatever, yeah.
So I'll make sure the turnbuckle is painted, so that way all the hardware matches the framework.
Okay, very good. Okay, any other questions about the signs? There be none, okay.
Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210032 up on the roof, I make the motion that we approve the signage as presented today with the condition that the cable that attaches the sign to the structure be painted or a sleeve attached. Either way, the color would match the color of the mounting brackets in the motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Brown, a second by Ms. Rocco. Any further comments or questions about the motion? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Very good.
When you plan on
Thank you
being
for your
open?
time.
All right,
Thank you so much for your time.
When do you plan on being open?
So right now, we have full building permits and everything's done, but this was our last big piece. Hopefully, we're crossing our fingers for September 20th.
Okay.
We got a quick build schedule, but hopefully before that, but we got 2 weeks of training and Labor Day falling in between, so push back a little bit. September 20th is what we're
September.
thinking. Yep.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
Very good.
Can't wait to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, next up is, next up is TPA 400. Come on down, please. While you're getting set up, we're going to take a short recess. So, short recess. Get your coffee cups filled, get to the restroom, short recess. Yes.
They might not be in.
Okay, let's end our recess and get going again. Our next applicant is TPA 400. So you're here. If you'll come on down and introduce yourself, please. Speak into the microphone and then give us an overview of what we have in our packet today, please.
Absolutely. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear us this morning. My name is Tyler Wakefield. I'm with TPA Group, the developer for this project. We've assembled a really great team of engineers and architects and designers, some names I know you all are familiar with. I've been working for many months to get to this point, and really excited to present to you all today. Officer Schrader, thanks for all your help getting us to this point.
You're welcome.
And echoing the previous applicant, it's been a great experience and continues to be. It has been for years with the city and with you all, so we really appreciate everything. All the feedback and assistance for us to get to this point. After a lot of deliberation, we've settled on a name, and we're gonna call this development Lakeview. There's a beautiful lake element on this project, and so we feel like it's a simple but straightforward name, and we're gonna let the product speak for itself and not try to name this thing into a great development, but just put our effort into this thing, get behind it, and deliver something really great. So this package supplements the roadway LDP submission that we submitted about a month ago for review, and that's inside of staff. We've gotten a lot of comments back, and that's why we're here this morning. So we're excited to show you all this, and what's our first package, Alex? So we're going to kind of follow the table of contents this morning, ladies and gentlemen, and so the first section will be the civil section.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning. Again, thank you. My name is Brian Martin. I'm with Kimley Horn, civil engineer, and just wanted to kind of present the site. The first sheet we're looking at here, just an overview of the entire development, including phase one, the lake, and the development that we would like to proceed with, which includes extension of the existing phase one road, and continuing around, and then a back connection to Lakeview, and then includes an amphitheater, includes a pocket park to the adjacent to the multifamily building, and then multifamily building in the basic southeast corner of this, and then a civic park in north of there, and then some hardscape and landscape elements that tie it all together. From a civil standpoint, we're providing detention for the entire development at this time, and it's encompassed in three main underground detention systems, all of them in the park areas. We are including a detention system in the townhome development at this time, and although we're not presenting the townhomes themselves, we're just basically pad grading that to encompass that later on. And it also includes 4 separate water quality infiltration ponds, which are more of a surface pond, which will be treated with landscape. And along the roadway, we also have infiltrated pervious pavers in the parallel parking spaces. Currently, the project is, what we're doing is trying to maintain as much tree frontage as we can. We are tying some utilities from Lakeview as well as Haynes Bridge and connecting them through. And to do that, we have to maintain some easements for the sanitary sewer as well as the storm. And that's why we have a gap where there's no trees in this section between the entry drive and the park area there. So basically, we're tying in a sanitary sewer just right there at the street, and then passing it through the townhome development down the center of their drive, as well as storm lines.
Brian, do you have a drawing of that?
The sewer line itself?
Yeah, where that easement is?
It's in that drive lane. There's not a drawing in this package. We did,
Which driveway?
sorry, right there. Right there. Yeah, right in that, the alleyway that will
Okay. so-
encompass the townhomes.
And there's no street trees northwest of that along Lakeview, right?
Right in there because of the easements, the sewer line is in Lakeview, and it's pretty much right in this area. And then we had to turn it 90 degrees to the west and then turn 90 degrees to the south to come down that alleyway. And it encompasses a 20-foot easement, so.
How deep is that sewer line?
At that point, it's probably about 10 feet deep. As it passes further south, it gets deeper because we have a pretty substantial amount of drop. From Lakeview Park in this area, we're at about 1070, and the lake itself is at about 1010. So we've got a good 60-foot of drop across this site,
It's a 20-foot easement.
20-foot easement.
Have you all explored the possibility of planting in the easement because of the depth of the pipe?
We can discuss that with Fulton County. Our plans are in for review with Fulton County. We're hoping to, we've left some room between the drive lanes of the townhomes, and there's some green space there that we'll plant trees.
Great, thank you.
There, Brian, there was an existing stream, I thought, that kind of cut through the
Yes.
site at one point, but I guess you've
We have not touched the existing stream.
okay.
We're maintaining it as it is. Our development stops right at the head of that stream.
Okay.
That is a true blue line stream with buffers on it. That's where there's a storm line running off of Lakeview and 2 storm lines off of Haynes Bridge, which we will pass through our main drive.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any other questions at this time. If not, I could pass it on to others.
Overall, the topography of the site, what's high and what's low? just
So
to give us-
Lakeview let's go back to the overall if you want.
Yeah, is there a grading?
Yeah,
plan?
so, yeah, there's some grading drawings that show the proposed contours, but Lakeview, where we tie in, is at about 10,068, 10,070.
Okay.
The amphitheater is at about 1020, and the lake is at about 1010. The corner of where the amphitheater comes off the corner of our drive, that's at 1030. The drive climbs at about a 4.5% slope, I think 3.5 maybe. To the intersection, it climbs probably another 15 feet. We have a fairly steep entry drive that comes back up to Lakeview, but from that intersection back to Haynes, it's relatively flat.
Okay.
And Haynes at that end of that intersection is at about the same elevation as that whole corridor.
Okay.
Is it possible to scroll up that drawing a little bit towards Lakeview?
Go up or to the?
Scroll up towards, yeah. So it's a steep drop from Lakeview down to where those sports areas are.
Okay.
Yes,
Really steep.
And-
8% at its peak.
That pad that you're looking at right there is for the second phase of the office.
And we're not presenting that at this time. We're generating dirt there to help us balance the earthwork of the overall project.
I thought I saw something about sports fields or something like that. Did I not?
The temporary parks that are.
Those drawings you gave me.
Yeah, you might be referring to the temporary parks, which will be, so when we generate that dirt, we grade those off, we're going to basically present some type of temporary park system for those fields.
You see that in the landscape.
Yeah, we'll let landscape dive more into that.
Okay. A couple more questions, I guess. So vehicular access to the site, where do you see maybe most of the people, either the residents coming into the site? So that's,
Probably right there on the main entry that we have on Lakeview.
and then the access to Haynes Bridge Road is just a kind of right in, right out?
That's future down the road.
That's future, so it's not?
We're not, at this time, we're not presenting that.
Okay,
We're
so
just
that's-
showing that as a future goal of the overall project.
So it may or may not happen then?
That's correct.
Okay. So all right, very good. And then, so phase 1 is under construction right now, is that correct?
That's
Is that what
correct.
you're calling phase 1? So what you're presenting today is phase 2, I guess?
It's the roadway and utility infrastructure for phase 2, the grading to encompass the multifamily building
Okay.
and everything else on the site.
And then, but are you pad grading, you said, for some of the other sites? as part
We
of-
are, because of the way we have to pass our storm line through the site, and we need to discharge it at the stream. So we need to generate dirt to cover that, and in overall earthwork numbers, we had
To balance
to
the
balance
site.
the earth
So,
best that we could.
so which areas then are being like pad graded or?
So the future office areas will be a cut area.
Okay.
The future townhomes is a fill area. And then the multifamilies, the future retail at the corner of Haynes and Lakeview, that's a cut area. The townhomes themselves between that entry drive and the retail and that pocket park and the central green, those are all kind of cut and fill.
So you're doing some mass grading
We're having to,
all at once.
yeah, because we have to pass the storm line and then get cover on it, and just looking at the overall development, the earthwork numbers really drove us this way.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could, my name is Alex Campbell. I'm an architect with Nelson.
I just got promoted.
Right. You need to hit the gavel now.
It does say mayor right here.
Apologies.
That's all right, that's all right. Just,
The townhome development is in process. It is under design right now, and the conversations that we've had with Officer Schrader is that they're anticipating to submit for the townhome portions to staff in July, early July.
okay. Just fearful that we've had a couple sites that get mass graded and all of a sudden, oops.
No, we're coming right in already.
Okay.
We've been
Very good.
heavily in
Make sure
that
we're-
design, so.
okay.
We've been coordinating
Yes.
with the townhome developers
Okay.
and making sure the architecture for both components are harmonious with one another.
Okay.
And they are getting ready to submit for the townhome pieces to the city staff
Okay.
early July. So.
Yeah, so, and again, the storm system, the sanitary sewer system is all pretty much tied everything all together, and so we just wanted to get all the infrastructure in right now.
Right. So you'll come in then, I guess, and seed those areas that are being kind of pad graded. They'll be seeded and.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
and some landscaping areas, and the landscape will show that, so.
All right.
We're carrying some,
Thank you.
we have some shared parking in the multifamily deck, as well as some surface, and then we have some street parking with parallel spaces. Yeah.
Okay. Any other site questions at this point? Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Good morning. I'm David Floyd with Site Solutions. I reside at 763 Longwood Drive Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30305. Pleasure to be here today, talk about the landscape and hardscape. Staff did such a great job describing what we did. I feel like I can make this very brief. Good job earlier.
Make sure the mayor gets something.
Go to the- We did make some revisions. Matt's handing those out right now, a couple of additions. Mainly, we added, we're showing the hedge along some of the pads that are going to be developed in the future. For example, the townhome. I do want to point out, we've been contracted by the townhome developer to do the landscape for that area. And that'll be a separate DRB submission, what I understand, because they're for sale units. And that's upcoming in just a few weeks, right? A couple of weeks.
That's gonna be a staff review for sale.
For the landscaping or for the
Yeah,
townhomes
all of it.
themselves?
All
Wait,
of it.
all of it?
Hardscape in there?
Okay.
Yeah, he sent me this.
But we did, on this set, we did go back and add the hedges along the street to meet the street buffer requirements. We're just showing the minimum requirements right now. Of course, on the slopes that come down to the townhomes, there'll be additional landscape, and you'll see that when we submit those drawings.
David, what about the area where so these drawings again show multi-use fields, install Bermuda sod. What about that road frontage? I know there's existing out there, and there's a hedgerow shown. Is that the intent on the frontage off of Lakeview in front of those multi-use fields? It's up on the screen actually right now. So I like Mr. Kramer. I'm concerned about when it's padded out and nothing goes in there for a while. So I'm concerned about the edge treatment along the road. And I see existing trees. What else is going in there?
You're not showing the hedge there, Matt?
It's on the landscape, you have.
It's on the landscape plan.
Matt, if you'll speak into the microphone, please.
There's a microphone on each table.
Should be, yeah, turn it on. Is it
You get
on?
to sit down.
Evergreen hedge along Lakeview, single row for right now, and then once the office comes in for DRB review, we would enhance that.
Staff good with a single row?
I mean, without understanding what we're going to allow yet for that, because you can't pad grade. So I don't know that.
That's where I'm going with it.
Staff has really developed that in the LDP plan. I'm not part of that process. I would say that there's not a double row required if there's not parking. So initially, I would think that a single row would be okay, but I think that's kind of a.
Okay.
That makes sense? I mean, if there were parking there, then the code would require double row. If there's not parking there, then I think it's just aesthetics.
Well, it's a great view looking straight down on a padded lot.
Or a multi-use fill pad.
Well, has that been approved? Tyler, do you know, is that, I
Well,
mean,
they're not
has
in-
Brian or anybody approved that those are open fields, basically? Or last I heard it was gonna be park, and I don't know that necessarily means an open
Those are
field.
going to be sodded play fields.
So it's sodded turf until something gets built.
Right.
That's correct.
And then what's your slope treatment all the way down?
What is my
Slope treatment.
slope treatment?
So down from Lakeview, yes.
You got,
Mr. Corkle.
what are they, Brian, are they
I
2 to
think
1
we're talking about
slopes down?
Okay, that's, we don't know. Okay, that's why we're putting the hedge at the top of the slope, but the actual slope itself, you're talking about treatment like landscape, right?
I am.
Okay, that'll be something temporary, because obviously there could be some more grading and infrastructure and so forth when the proposed office use is installed there.
And that is correct. There will be more grading when the office does come in because we're.
Okay, so my concern is, I'm always concerned with what you people see from the right of way, right? And you all are fantastic at designing, trust me. But, but when it's just a padded area and there's nothing called out as far as what's going on those slopes as they come down, and, a single row of shrubs and that sort of thing, I'd rather see something up towards the street that's gonna be more permanent, because those trees are, those trees aren't coming out. If you put a double row of shrubs in
The
there.
trees are staying.
Put a double row of shrubs in there, something that has some height to it, it is what it is. So anyway, that's my first comment. Go ahead, David, I'm sorry.
I'm good with that, because because ultimately there may be a parking structure there. If we put the double row in now, we'll met the requirement. We won't have to go back and plant it later when that happens. Right?
And the trees are the trees, they're there already.
The trees are there already, correct.
I'd just like to know at some point in time what that treatment of the slopes is going to be at this point in time, because if nothing gets built for 3 years and it's love grass or something like that dies out, I just don't want to see an eyesore as you look from the public right away.
Okay, but you're not asking me to show a planting plan for that 2 to 1 slope going down to the pad, right?
I just like to know what it is. There's nothing shown. There's nothing shown on those slopes.
Yeah, I mean, is it just going to be weeds?
Right.
What's going to be on that slope?
No, we're going to treat that for the typical grasses that you would see on a slope. Staff has not reviewed that and then gave us any input at that point in time. But again, that is a temporary slope. Ultimately, a parking deck will get cut into that slope. The existing trees along the roadway will be maintained.
Okay.
So.
Well, we have to look at it as, even though you say it's going to be built, hey, we could hit a recession in 2 years and it sits there for 5 years. I mean, it's happened.
Which is why, I don't know that there's been a determination that these grass fields are gonna be allowed. It may be required to be forested.
So we'll work something in at this point in time to give staff some direction, because
Yeah, Yeah, I just texted a couple of the LDP staff, and I think they're out today, so but I'll relay that on about
Sure.
the depression slopes and stuff along there, yeah. But I do think the double row now is a good thing, if for nothing else, if the plant material that's there now, say, or goes in now is, and in 3 years, I mean, there's gonna be a complete different look of that plant material, and if you're keeping the trees, I mean, the shrubs are between the trees or, right close, so it's not like you're gonna be able to work there anyway, so.
And the intent is to sod the pads,
Yes.
Yes.
sodded Bermuda, not seed.
Let's just make it clear that that is not getting approved here.
That's understood,
Yeah.
and just for what it's worth, we totally agree with everything you all are saying with respect to the short-term and long-term solution for those slopes. We'll have existing tenants across the street from that. We really want to activate that area, and that's the intent, is to provide open space for sporting or putting out a blanket or anything like that. We understand we need to stabilize the slope, certainly, keep it from rilling. Weeds are entirely unacceptable to us, but we recognize we need to demonstrate what the treatment will be. So, thank you for the comment.
Okay. Now that we've had that discussion,
Oh, where should I
Let's get
start?
back to-
We jumped.
It just happened to be the first sheet that was up on the screen, so.
let's get back to look at the big picture and then.
This
get
sheet
down.
is really just, because we've broken the drawing up into discernible size sheets, but this sheet doesn't have a lot in terms of scope, but it's really just showing the preservation of all the trees in the buffer between the lake and the 400 buffer. And then the main, and the alpha loop that's going to be constructed, but the main takeaway on this sheet is that per the conditions of zoning, we are looking at either widening the bridge or rebuilding the bridges. And that's being assessed right now by a structural engineer. So one of the two is going to happen, but I think the condition of zoning says to improve those bridges. And we're going to do that.
And there's 2 bridges, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right.
Over Lake Morrison.
Go to the next sheet. I want to point out one labeling error, and that is it says 10-foot landscape buffer that runs along the street. That's really a landscape strip. I don't think it's a buffer. It's a landscape strip. We are, of course, that's going in phase 1. This is, the street is type C street with a 8-foot planter and 8-foot sidewalk. We just talked about the landscaping along the top of the slope, and your concern with the view down into the pad and the character of the what we're calling play fields. The next sheet. Brian discussed the issue with the utility easement, and you have the void of trees between the entry and where there's this utility easement there that we have not figured out a way to plant that yet. Plant trees there. We have shrubs, of course. I do want to point out, per the conditions of zoning, we do have the pavers that go in the strip, the 2-foot strip between the sidewalk and the street, which was also in our phase 1. This plan is showing again, this is hardscape, but it's showing the central green area. And the central green area is going to be a synthetic turf area. It'll be surrounded by concrete. When you get down to the small jewel box of the stage area of the building, we have enhanced concrete. I take that back. We're not using that term. We just exposed concrete, P3, which is plain concrete. When I say plain concrete, it doesn't have color, but it will have aggregate and natural sand. So it'll have a warmer tone to it, and then we'll have an exposed aggregate finish we use with a wash-off finish. The drop-off in front is vehicular concrete. Which is just going to be broom swept. We will have to up, I just noticed that says 3,000. We'll probably have to up that to 3,500 PSI. For that area, it'll be a 6-inch slab. Per the conditions of zoning, there's an amenity area right at the intersection of Haynes Bridge and Lakeview. We're exceeding the minimum square footage at this moment for that area. We'll get back to that. Now, you'll notice there's a sort of a lack Well, I'm sorry, we're on hardscape, so I'll skip ahead on, before we get into the landscape in that area. Next page, why don't we just jump over to, this is showing the park, the amphitheater, and we have a 15-foot grade differential from the street down to the stage. So that has to be accessible, so, 1 in 20, do the math, 300 feet of ramp, plus you have to have some flat areas. So it's a very circuitous route to get from the drop-off and the food truck staging area down to the stage. So what we decided is, rather than having a traditional-looking amphitheater, we just had straight ramps and so forth. It would look very austere if when it's not being used. Our intent was to make it look like a more of a park-like setting. Landscaping is very loose and informal, not a lot of, it's not a monoculture. We have a lot of diversity of plants in here, but the idea is that if you didn't, if you came out here, you're riding the trail, it would look like a park as opposed to look like Chastain, amphitheater.
David, so the stage for the amphitheater is at the bottom, correct? Down
Yep.
towards the lake?
Pat, hang 1 second. When I get the sheet, we have an enlargement of that.
Yes.
And
Okay.
it's going to be a lot clearer, okay?
Go to that sheet.
1.5.
The amphitheater sheet.
Pardon me?
Just go to the amphitheater sheet.
Yeah, why don't you let's jump ahead of that. While your thought's fresh, Pat, jump to sheet 1.7 now.
And so the stage is at the bottom, right? And you've got some sitting walls that you can face the stage and all that sort of thing. My question is this, the trail that goes through there, the Alpha Loop trail goes through there, correct?
Correct.
So if there is some performance, if you will, something like that, do you have to go through the stage area to go from one end of the trail to the other, or is the trail separate from what is shown as maybe the stage area? I keep calling it the stage area, but.
Well, it's a very interactive amphitheater, Pat, but I'm just kidding. But you can go behind the stage.
Okay.
But the thought is that if someone's riding a bicycle and we don't have an event, they can ride over the boardwalk and, that sort of experience. And it's not, hopefully that if you're on a bike, you're going to, be cognizant of the fact there's some event there and you're not going to ride your bike through the.
Well, and that's my point, because it's a public trail, correct?
Correct.
So with that being said, that it's a public trail, if there's an event going on at this stage that might be private, then you don't want to deter someone from being on a bicycle because there's something going on to be on a public trail. They can't go through there because there's a private event going on. So I just want to make sure that the trail itself, there's some separation between stage and trail so that if you're not stopping to be at that event, that you can continue on one way or the other, if they're on a bike, skateboard, whatever. So is there indeed a separate portion of that trail? I think you did it with the blue line.
I did. So there are two options for residents that are using the Alpha Loop. When they get to this intersection, they can continue across and go in that little section behind the stage. We do have a seat wall, a low wall that divides the stage area from the Alpha Loop trail portion next to the lake. Or they can continue around and use the route across the two bridges to sort of bypass the amphitheater and continue on north of the Alpha Loop. So they can continue around the lake this direction and continue on, or if they wanted to, they can still bypass the amphitheater using that
Thank you.
zone that's behind it. So they have two options.
I think one thing that kind of brings up just a little bit, which Mr. Corkle, I think is a great thing to point out, that needs to be maintained. And one of the things that we have issue with a lot of the places when we're having these events is the power wasn't necessarily thought about when we, are going on sidewalks and stuff like that out here. So I just want to put it on your radar. Let's, try to make sure that we're not you know, when there is an event in there and the power's on this side of the sidewalk, let's try to get the power to make sure that we can, you know, can keep that sidewalk open, you know, because we know there's gonna be power down there. There's probably gonna be a transformer set down there or something like that. So let's try to make sure that we keep it all on the side of the sidewalk, or at least we've got, you know, if the transformer's over here, let's put a pipe underneath the sidewalk so that we don't have, you know, stuff trailing across and we make it non-ADA at that point.
Officer Schrader, you're brilliant. You're a genius. If I could call your attention to the screen.
Oh, you got it?
We have a transformer power enclosure in this location where we're already enclosing the transformer and the power for that stage zone.
Perfect.
And we're already discussing conduit path that comes from that transformer out to generally this location of this fire pit. So that we don't have to have cables that are strung across the sidewalk, and we already have conduit path, so that when we have events and stage, all that is, infrastructure is in place.
Easy to happen now, really hard to deal with later.
So but that is a good point, and that's what this structure is for here, that's on the screen. That is, you know, decorative enclosed structure, just like some of the service structures we have at Avalon, where we have nice, almost like a screen enclosure that all of those transformer and power utilities would be in there for exactly that purpose.
It's gonna be a great looking space. Even the cantilevered wood portion, it's gonna look great.
It's fun.
I think we're going to have to
Good
relook
primer for other things to come.
because the
later.
takeaway is that you want the path to be accessible regardless of any activity.
Only because it's a public trail.
Okay. Because as you mentioned, right now there's a bar rail, if you will, but I mean, so people on the trail could, you know, look out over the lake and the woods and so forth, but.
The three circular elements that are noted there are fire pit elements as well. Again, for additional activation and things at night. And up by the front at the termination of the main internal street, we have a section for both pull-off and drop-off for events, and we're going to provide power and utilities for food truck events. We have enough spacing, as you can see there, to park 4 to 5 food trucks. And so we see that as, you know, additional events and social spaces as well.
As I mentioned before, the deck, the amphitheater stage is going to be made of wooden, and even a section of the path we wanted it to be Trex, just for the sound and when you're riding your bicycle and so forth. The food truck area is going to be the vehicular concrete, and the plaza itself is just is plain concrete, broom swept concrete. Again, the streets, type C street, 8-foot planter, 8-foot sidewalk. So now we're back to where were we?
1.5.
Only 8? Brett, only an 8-foot sidewalk? I digress on the width of sidewalks in Alpharetta.
So the one thing I want to note on this sheet, L1.5, is that we're making a variant in the retail street, on the type C street, and that is we're going to have the, due to the stormwater requirements of the eco district, and also our desire to do some stormwater mitigation, we have some pervious paving, and we're going to implement sort of the Seattle Green Streets concept that you guys are probably familiar with, that you have planters, you have the ability for water to come off the street, goes into a planter, goes with grade, goes through wetland type planting, juncus, sedges and things like that, and then it gets into a drain. So you do some bioremediation before the water gets into the storm drain system. So where we have retail areas, we're going to need a little, where that parking is, a little step, when you get out of your car, a 2-foot wide step to be able to negotiate around the planters, as opposed to having the planter come right up to the back of the curb for obvious reasons. So that changes that we have a 10-foot wide, we'll have a 2-foot wide strip, a 6-foot wide planter, and then of course the 8-foot sidewalk.
Plus additional sidewalk spaces at the retail areas.
Correct. And that occurs in front of the retail areas. Okay. We're showing the pocket park on sheet L 1.8. We'll go to that, shows that in more detail. We have the drop-off, it's shown on multiple sheets, but again, that's a raised speed table area, vehicular concrete, and it has enhanced or exposed aggregate concrete on either side. Sheet 6, L 1.6, again, type C Street, but this is where you can see the variation and where we have some retail where we're going to have the 2-foot 10-foot sidewalk, 6-foot planter, and 2-foot access strip. Let's go to the detail. On 7, we talked. This is the amphitheater. I think we talked about that earlier. Let's go to 8. The pocket park. Pocket park is surrounded by the townhomes. There's a desire to have a more formal garden here. The garden will have a function space. We'll have a synthetic turf function space, and then a more formalized garden. It'll have crunchy slate chipped walking surface, landscaping, and then sort of English formal parterred hedges and landscaping that go on in the planters in the formal garden. There's also a wood deck, elevated wood deck in the extreme planned south area. Sheet 9.
Yeah, we look good.
This is the central green. Now, I do want to point out that we're slightly below our square footage here. We have required to have a 32,124 square foot area, and right now we're only around 28,832. So we're...
Which area are you referring to, or what?
The central green.
The central green,
That area, the limits of that area of the central green is supposed to be about 32,000 square feet, and we are below that right now. Even with the surplus we had at the intersection of Lakeview and Haynes Bridge, we still have a net net deficit of 2,500 square feet. So we're looking at ways to regain that 2,500 square feet, and it may be that we can just enlarge the paving, but the townhome developer just came on board, so we need to see what his requirements are before we see if we can enlarge that.
Where's the square footage requirement come from? Is that a condition?
Yeah.
The 32,000?
Yeah.
It was in the conditions.
They gave you a specific 32,000?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Wow.
124.
Wow. Somebody on staff did some takeoffs.
That's 2/3 of an acre or something, I don't know.
In this area, we have some seating areas. Again, some of those are the crunchy seating areas. We have outdoor furnishings proposed, and then we have 4 arbors that go around the synthetic turf green that have chair rails. If you look on the lower left-hand side of that page, give you an example.
That'd be a great space. Where's the fountain?
I'm sorry?
Behind the building.
Where's the fountain? Right there?
Yep.
That's be a cool space.
And in terms of scale, this is comparable in scale to the Central Green at Avalon.
Who designed that?
Seems to be a good.
Say, looking at that drawing, oops.
Let's talk about materials a little bit. Of course, the
David, I'm
synthetic
sorry.
turf.
David, going back to L 1.9, just curious, I saw a speed table denoted. What is a speed table?
It's a raised intersection. It's a raised drop-off.
So on each side of as you come up to that, it ramps up gently.
Okay.
And so that when you're in that central area between the multifamily building going over to the Central Green, there's no curb. It's all flush.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
it ramps back down. So it's just in that in that area in the center there that shows that enhanced concrete-looking material. You can see the small ramps on either side. It's just to keep that entire area flush with grade, no curbs.
Okay,
And you can
very
see
good.
the bollards that are there to keep the vehicular traffic from going into the central green.
All right,
It's
thank
just a
you.
nice pedestrian feature.
Okay, thank you.
You're familiar with those from over at Avalon, but when a car goes up there, they slow down because they feel like they're on a sidewalk and they don't know what to do next. But they're very effective.
what the
As long as
bollards
those
are for.
ramps have to be at least 8 feet,
Okay, thank you.
or the cars will bottom out. Okay, materials, just sort of a quick couple images here. Synthetic turf. We're going to use the wood deck, Trex. The lower right is showing an example of the sort of elements you'd see in the formal garden. Of course, bike racks as required, and the other furnishings, and a lot of these are mandated by the overlay district, right?
There you go.
So we're
And
just.
they are consistent with what has been provided in phase one. So they'll be consistent throughout the development.
Okay, on the sheet L 1.12.
Brett, did we look at any site furnishings for the office, the first phase of this? There were.
We did.
Yeah.
And were those match these?
Yep.
Okay.
There were some benches and.
There's some benches and some bike racks.
Okay. Thank you. I can't remember.
Okay, the sheet L 1.12, just some photographs of concrete. You guys are pretty familiar with their exposed aggregate concrete techniques. The Trex decking, for obvious reasons, we're using a synthetic product. Doesn't get splinters, a lot more durable. Walls, we're proposing to use a wall by Unilock. It's it's a modular wall, but it's really neat looking. It kind of fits in with the contemporary nature of the architecture. The permeable pavers.
Sorry, Dave, if I may, you will see later in the signage presentation how the materials for the site retaining walls match in look and character to the architecture of the signage, the site signage that you'll see as well. It's intentionally meant to align with one another.
The slate miniature, as it's called here, you may or may not be familiar with that, but it's a crushed slate. They're about 3/8 inches. They're flat, but they make a great little walking surface because you can compact them and they don't move around like pea gravel, and still they're permeable. So it's a great little garden path material. And then vehicular pavers, we're using Belgard pavers in gray. Again, job's kind of contemporary. We're staying in the cooler tones than we are the warm tones. Well, we have actual samples if you'd like to see them.
See anything?
Sure, you brought them.
I have a quick question. Corner of Lakeview and Haynes, looking at the landscape plans, and also out there is that amenity space, I see existing trees, but I don't see anything else as far as plantings go. So exactly, so that corner, and then you come down Haynes Bridge as well.
There's an existing hedge there. That's one area on the site where there's an existing hedge. There's also some existing magnolias, and we're not showing any planting that's going to disrupt the root system in that particular area at this time.
So there's existing planting down on that sheet there, exactly. Is that's all existing planting along Haynes Bridge?
Yes.
Heavily wooded.
And it doesn't, and we're not even showing the hedge that exists, and that's just the trees, the magnolias and willow oaks. It's pretty densely planted right there, so we haven't added any planting at this time. Now, the future building, of course, we'll have we'll have parking lot planting and planting on the slope surrounding the parking lot, but we're currently not showing anything in there at the moment.
Okay.
I know there's a rock outcropping somewhere along that Haynes Bridge roadside. Right there,
Sits
okay.
right about there.
Okay.
So it'll be going away,
Brett,
unfortunately.
can you pull that up? Can you Google Earth that? Or are we out of?
No, I can see if it.
Go back to L 2.2. Oh, is that where you are?
And that amenity space is TBD? Amenity space is still being developed, that one that sits out there?
Actually, I think John is going to be able to address that.
Yeah. Later in the presentation, you'll see that being in more detail.
I'm jumping ahead, aren't
Slow
It's a
down.
big development
Slow
with a
down.
lot of pieces.
That's right.
I had pre-formed questions, I'll admit. I just want to know what that streetscape along Haynes Bridge looks like and what's.
Go from Lakeview, take us from Lakeview to 400 along Haynes Bridge if you can.
From the ramps.
Okay, so there's Lakeview, okay.
That's the corner right there.
That's where they filled in that right-hand turn lane.
Oh, that's right, okay. So trees and a hedge, okay. Oh, and little bits of stone monuments, columns.
So you keeping the stone column monuments there?
Yes.
They're, okay. No. Okay.
Yes.
But you'll see a revision in the revised site signage of what's replacing it.
Okay.
They seem kind of haphazard at this point in time.
It'll be nice to see that superfluous concrete apron go away.
And just to the right of this view, inside that heavily wooded area, that's the section between Haynes Bridge and the multifamily building. And that's where you were asking about the rock outcropping.
Okay.
It's up inside that wooded area.
Okay.
All right, very good. Thank you, Brett, for that
Thanks.
tour.
So I just wanted to reiterate, we're not proposing, we're proposing to keep the existing landscaping that is along the intersection of Lakeview and Haynes Bridge and the landscaping and trees that go to the east. Just a couple of high points on the landscaping. Again, we spoke about the Seattle Green Streets initiative, and that will be trees that can handle a wet foot environment. So just because it doesn't have to be swamp-like, but there's some plants that we're going to put in there that are kind of cool, and they can live in that environment. Again, the sedges, there's lobelia, there's hibiscus, mosquitoes, and other things we can put in there. It'll be cool, and plus is a visual nod to environmentalism. So we think it'd be a cool thing for the project. The street trees, again, Corcus lyrata, but we're putting on the portals, we're using the Princeton elms, and we had 6-inch Princeton elms on the first phase. We're going to do the same in the second phase. I don't know how much
Continuing that
detail Pat
theme,
can
Mr.
get into
Pope.
the landscape. I'm waiting on Pat to answer questions. So. But I will point out a couple of things. I do have some roses on this thing, and I know that roses have been,
They're coming back.
killed by rose rosette disease, but you have to do the math. You can install roses which bloom from spring till fall at about $3 a square foot. Annual color maintained is about $10 a square foot. So you could replace the roses 3 times for them either thing. So even if we think of roses as being annuals, it's still cheaper than putting, begonias out there once a year. So we're using some of those. Again, we're not going crazy with them, but we do have some roses out here to have some color, year-round color, without having to have so much annual color.
Okay, well, looks like you put a lot of thought into this, a lot of work.
Okay?
All right, questions?
I think that easement bothers me, and I would like you guys to try and explore. Fulton County's impossible right now. to get anything out of them, but I would like you guys to try and explore, because of the depth of how deep that sewer line is, not planting over the top of it, but planting in that easement, something other than a shrub, especially when the townhomes come online there. You know, so anyway, that easement sort of bothers me.
Okay. Any other comments, questions about really kind of the landscape, hardscape areas?
No, and we'll have to talk in the motion about what's best for those pads.
Some of the things like the fountain, for example, just says fountain example, so we don't have specifics on some of this. We have example pictures, right? Metal trellis example, and they all look great. But I don't know if we're going to just presume they'll be substantially similar to the examples, or
they'll be the same as.
Or the same as.
Yeah, I'm assuming staff will take these photos and present it to DRB, and when the construction documents come through, they will be comparing them at the LDP phase.
That would be the hope, that
Right.
if you're gonna present something as a picture and say similar to, that it'll be really similar to.
Very
or-
similar to, yeah.
Or we could spend another 3 hours.
No, we don't need to do that. What's your schedule on submitting for an LDP? It's in, you've submitted.
The roadway is, yes.
Okay. All right, so staff is looking at it now.
They're not looking at this, but yeah.
Right.
You gotta submit LDP as early as possible for something like this, have to.
Okay.
Yeah, for the images that are on the screen, the top and lower images, those are the exact sort of products and effects that we're looking for. For the fountain, that is the intent, is that as the architecture for that retail jewel box as a part of that stage is finalized and submitted, the fountain would be substantially similar in character and nature to what's being shown there.
Is the chessboard, is that a McCarthyism? Is that a Kevinism? Kevin
No
loves
comment.
I think that's illustrating a temporary activity.
It's a checkerboard, it's not a chessboard,
No,
it's a
it's
checker.
chessboard. Kevin loves chessboards.
So no comments about the fire pits? I thought you guys would push back on that.
No.
We can if you wanted to.
Pardon
The
me?
gas fire.
You were asking about the fire pit?
Yeah. So it's our answer to the Burning Man Festival in California. We're going to bring it
Yeah.
up.
And it's a given on the fixtures that they will be consistent with eco-district standards and the same across the site, right? We don't need to
Yeah, I
spend
think
any
so.
of that, right? Okay.
Quick question for you on L 1.6. So drop back one page or one drawing. Kind of in front of the multifamily area there is a retaining wall with a 42-inch high fence along the top. So it's kind of on the right-hand side of the sheet towards Haynesbridge Road there.
Yeah, it's the,
What does that look like, or what does that, keep going? It's the one that's got a kink in it. There you go, right along there.
Oh, good catch.
And so which side are you looking at it from, and what does it look like?
Haynesbridge is
So
the top side.
yeah, Haynesbridge is
So
high.
the multifamily would be looking at the wall.
Okay.
From Haynesbridge, you're seeing the rail on the top of the wall, and the finished floor of the building is lower than Haynes.
Okay.
And at its tallest point, it's about 10 foot. And it will be the same wall material as the other walls.
And what are the other walls?
The modular.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
all like this.
All right,
This might
very
be a
good.
tad bigger, but this is the material.
Okay,
You say that's a Unilock product?
Unilock Ucara is what it's called.
okay, very good. And then what's the fence look like on top of it?
Veristar. Three
All right. Maristar, do you have a picture of that?
I don't have a picture of that one.
All right.
Standard picket.
Not the ha-ha, not a ha-ha rail?
Kevin's ha-ha fence, yes.
No, more like
That's double
Okay.
rail, single rail,
double rail, single rail pickets at the.
42-inch height?
Okay,
Is it? 42-inch, okay.
all right, very good. And then go back to, let's see, what was the enlarged drawing of the amphitheater? I remember I had it
7?
set, was it, yeah, 1.7. So again, where the food trucks are is up high,
Right.
And the stage is down low.
About
That's that 15-foot
Right.
differential, okay.
Right.
And so the zigzag or the ADA access kind of follows, meanders that, I'll say trail or whatever, get down to the lower area,
Right.
okay?
Now, Richard, you could do a more direct route, but it would be that
Serpentine, it's-
8.33, you know.
Yeah,
it
well,
would
no,
just hook.
So, but you're doing slope, and then you have some landing areas, and then slope and landing areas, and so, okay. But you don't,
The intent behind that sort of serpentine path is that it's less shallow than actually a ramp, so it's not actually considered a ramp, it's just a walking path.
okay.
And so it's just nice and gentle slope and meandering so that it doesn't have to have ramps or railings or
Or, yeah, no handrails are required.
Okay, I was gonna say, do you have handrails in? Okay. Very
only
good.
at the steps.
The stairs, yeah.
Yep, okay. And the steps are on, well, you've got them on both sides, okay.
On the
Very good.
extremities.
Okay. All right, and you've got hookups for the food trucks should they need their power or whatever, all right?
Power and water.
Okay. Good. All right. All right, I think that's it for all my questions. Anybody else? Nope. Guess that's it. All right. What's next?
All right,
Who's
thank you.
next?
Thank you.
Once again, my name is Alex Campbell. I'm with Nelson Architects. Our offices are here in Avalon, and I'm going to be also representing our lighting studio. They could not travel to be with us today, so I'm going to be presenting the lighting portion for them. This is just an illustration of some of the focus areas and the zones. There are two prominent entryways off of Lakeview. There are some prominent intersection points through the development. There are a couple of sculpture moments that we've talked about and that are part of the conditions that are part of the overall sculpture requirements. And then they're the main streetscape elements. So for the main roadway lighting, the design team looked at fixtures that were in keeping with the character of Phase 1 so that there's consistency and continuity throughout the development. There was some debate internally amongst the design team, the development team, about whether or not after the office portions or at the intersection where the food truck parking areas where we would potentially transition to a different type of fixture. But we ultimately landed on, we felt that the modern aesthetic, the clean look of what we had designed for Phase 1 was consistent enough to carry through. And we're proposing a double fixture for the main roadway lightings. So there's a higher fixture that illuminates the roadway, and then there's a lower fixture on the back side that faces toward the sidewalk to illuminate the sidewalk and pedestrian pathways. Once you get off of the main streetscape, then we have a slightly enhanced contemporary pole, which you'll see here in the middle, which is our primary pole. It's using the same heads as the streetscape, but the pole becomes different, a little bit more enhanced and scaled with materials, the wood bases at the bottom, because they're scaled for the pedestrian areas. The Alpha Loop lighting, again, will be the same fixture that's proposed for the Phase 1 portion of the Alpha Loop, and it is the fixture that has been provided to us by city staff, which is the Flint bollard, and it is the fixture that was provided to us by the city requirements. And we're using it in Phase 1, and we're just proposing to continue that fixture for use. The pedestrian bridges, pedestrian bridges will, as they are redone and redeveloped, will have lighting at each of the poles so that the bridges will have illumination on them for nighttime. And then we have some, in a few other areas, the drink rail down by the amphitheater, the railing up by the pocket park will have some railing lighting incorporated in the top rail. Again, this is just starting to illustrate the exact locations of the lighting. The red is the Phase 1 lighting. It is shown as gray just because of the images from the manufacturer, but we are proposing a black fixture, which is the same as Phase 1. All of the lighting and the poles we are proposing will be black in color.
Okay, good.
The type A2 is just a smaller version of the taller streetscape pole, so that would be used like in the retail surface lot. And then once you get into the central green area and the pocket park, and you see a couple of the other accent areas throughout the townhome, you go to the more decorative, again, same head, just a more decorative pole with the slightly curved feature and the wood base. Again, same concept for the townhome areas, the pocket park, the green within the townhomes, the continuation of the streetscape. And then you will see a little bit more detail when we get to the amphitheater, but we have surface-mounted cylinder poles, which will be for the bridges. Again, the Flint bollard, which is for the Alpha Loop, and we have a column light, which is meant to help define the edge for the amphitheater. And again, just illustrating the Alpha Loop bollards and the lighting for the bridges. Within the amphitheater area, we have in-grade marker lights, which you see here illustrated for the fire pit area. So the 3 fire pit areas will have sort of a small ring of in-grade, slightly glowing marker lights. We have a set of larger trees that are part of the street landscaping, larger, more ornamental trees in this area by the food truck that are intended to be uplit, illuminated. The food truck area, illustrated by the pink, we're proposing this image here, which is a decorative form of catenary lighting. So you see, like at Avalon, we're across the central green, we have the large string lights. This is basically an enhanced version of that over that central food truck plaza area. A decorative catenary light that will be strung on poles, but they're these large decorative circles to provide a really cool, vibrant area and fun area right over that food truck portion. Again, the pole lights for pedestrians that help define the outer boundaries of the amphitheater and give it sort of an illuminated edge, but not interfere with sight lines, so that someone could even stand in the plaza at the top of the park and look all the way down toward the stage. People can lay blankets down on the grass areas through the serpentine areas, or sit in the seat walls at the front. So we have multiple sort of seating zones within the amphitheater for events or concerts, and then no lighting within that area is, affecting a performance. So any vertical lighting is all kept at the edges. And then the only lights we have within the yellow pathways would be these in-grade marker lights at the lower right. Again, keeping all the lighting and illumination low and at foot traffic level. So there's illumination, paths are all illuminated, but it keeps any vertical elements away from obscuring lines of sight for concerts and events. We do have a couple of accent lines, like we said, at the drink rail. The drink rail will have an illuminated top rail. The seat walls, this one retaining wall here and the 3 seat walls for the actual amphitheater portion of the venue will have edge illumination. And then we do have a couple of light stands, taller light poles providing the illumination for the stage. You see sort of this contemporary fixture with multiple heads at the top to provide the illumination for the stage. And there's just actual images and cut sheets for the proposed fixtures themselves. Pocket Park, using similar concepts at the entrance to the Pocket Park, coming from, and again dealing with the grades and the topography that Civil and Landscape have mentioned, there is a set of steps and ramps to get down to the park level. That would all be illuminated by railing. So within the handrails on each side, there'll be illumination that downlights the path, as you can see, but it's mounted in the bottom of the handrails. And then there are a couple of moments at the bottom of that central landscape ramp feature, and in the green perimeter border, the seat wall borders for the English formal garden, you can see we have kick lighting, what we call toe kick lighting, to illuminate sort of a gentle glow down at the bottom, which is illustrated in the green area and the stair and ramp area. The art sculpture area, once that art piece is developed and designed, it is the intention to provide uplights for that. So we have in-grade fixtures that will provide illumination for that sculpture piece. And then the garden itself has the pedestrian pathway, again, the same pole and fixture. And then the formal garden becomes a low, gentle glow. We have some accent lighting within the garden elements themselves. And then again, rail lighting at the viewing platform. And there are, again, the proposed fixtures. So you see in the formal garden, the type R and the type S are the fixtures for the landscape element uplighting, and then some just decorative garden luminaries for gentle glow, provide some visual interest at night in the formal garden. And then the central green, same pedestrian pathway fixture that we showed earlier on the sides. The 4 benches that were talked about in the seating structures in the landscape proposal will have up and down lights, so that those have some accent lighting on them as well. In the center, the paseo from the retail parking into the central green, we have the sort of traditional catenary lighting, string lighting. The elements that are shown in green, the trees that are forming the border for this park, are intended to have uplight on those tree canopies. And then some just additional accent ambient lighting along the perimeter with the pedestrian pathway light. The fire pit area, the fireplace area at the stage will have a combination of both toe kick and some accent lighting on the formal fireplace piece that's there. The stage lighting will be provided as event lighting, so that's a temporary, it's not a permanent fixture. We have power provided so that those doing events can come and provide their own lighting, and they have power for that. The fountain, we have lighting proposed for the fountain, and that'll be further defined and developed as the fountain is. And again, some of the planting beds have the toe kick lighting again.
Sorry, can you point out where the fireplace is in that area? I missed that.
Right there. It's at the back side of the stage. So the design for the stage area is meant so that when there are not concerts in place, the stage still is a nice sort of seating area and can be used sort of like another fire pit lounging area. It becomes sort of another room within the overall central space. But we have enough area for sufficient space for an actual stage venue. And then that fireplace element forms sort of the backdrop of that element. Again, the fixtures proposed and their locations for the uplight, for the canopies, the fountain floodlights, the toe kick lighting, and again, the pedestrian pathway lighting. So now we're into the photometrics, and I don't know how much detail you'd like us to get into with the photometry, but the major takeaway from the photometrics is that we are at or exceeding the same lighting levels from phase 1 with the streetways. They meet or exceed all design guidelines, and the actual photometrics for the park areas, the amphitheater, the central green, and the pocket park are slightly lower in horizontal surface lighting for those areas, but with the vertical illumination elements in those areas, those elements will actually feel or seem to the eye brighter than the actual streetscape, although the photometrics demonstrate that they aren't. In fact, at the horizontal plane, the walking plane are not brighter, but just with the vertical uplights, the canopy structures, those kind of things, it'll feel brighter. So happy to walk through any of the specific areas, but we maintain more than an average of 1 foot candle at the walking surface for all parking and pedestrian pathways throughout the development, which is consistent with phase 1. So, any questions on the lighting?
Yeah, I have a couple. So all the standards that you're showing are going to be black finish, correct?
That's correct.
You made that statement. Okay, very good. And then on drawing LT14, I'm looking at fixture type F. So it's on LT14. So that's fixture type F. And then I noticed later in the package on page light LT33 that you showed, looks like the string lighting is type F.
So that is, so this fixture here, type F, the picture goes
above, so that's the string, okay, all right, I was thinking of the.
Yeah, this image here, that's the type Q, which is.
Oh, got it, okay, then I see.
Uplighting. Type F is that string catenary lighting that's in this section here by the retail.
Got it. And then are you proposing to use the multicolored lights for the string lighting? I mean, is it?
White.
Just all white, okay.
White.
'Cause I know it
The
comes.
only colored lighting proposed is at the fountain.
Gotcha, okay, very good. Gosh, I sure would hate to be the guy that has to change out all these light bulbs.
That's why they're LED.
You know what, I'd like to own the company.
I think you've gone from A to Z in types of light fixtures, but all good, very well detailed. All right.
Speakers around the colorful fonts. Maybe some little neon shows.
So
Brings it back to Alpharetta.
we do have,
Fans of that.
so we do have streetscape, and in the central green area, we do have, a AV system, which will have like the in-grade sound and speakers, similar to the concept to Avalon. So not specific to the fountain, but the main streetscape and in the retail areas and in central green, we'll have the.
Don't need the sound.
But we'll stop that music at just at the retail zone. So once we get further in the townhome and the office zone, we won't have that, street sound system anymore.
I was more looking for a show. More yeah.
Okay, any questions about the lighting package? Very good, okay. Very good, all right, what's next, Alex?
In addition to signs,
Sure.
it's Mr. Jan Lawrence.
Hi, I'm Jan Lawrence with Lawrence U Design in Roswell. I reside at 85 Vickery Street in Roswell. And I wanted to give you slip sheets on the ones that we changed in the package from what we saw earlier.
I've got one in here.
He's got his own package.
Sorry about that. And it's quite a package.
Let me ask, let's see, one quick question for David Floyd, or Matt, maybe this is for Matt. The drawings that you passed out this morning, were there any changes to these based on what we had already been given earlier? Any changes to what you passed out this morning?
Yes.
There were, okay, well, all right, we'll figure that out later, so just want to make sure. Okay, Jan.
What I wanted to review is two things. One is the site signage, the branding signage for the property, and the sculpture elements that are the second part of it. So what we've proposed here is we proposed three main entry elements. One, it was just called 1A at the corner, and that's going to be a low wall with some sculptural feature. It's going to identify the property. It's going to identify Alpharetta 2022 on the wall. The second one is the one in the middle is going to be as we said, is going to be the main one. That's going to be the main entrance for the residential project. And it's going to be a design that I'll review in a minute. It's going to be on both sides of the road. And the last one, which is labeled as 2A, is going to be the first one that's going to be built at that intersection. So as I review the pieces with you, what we've got is we've got a proposed early study on a wedge sign wall that's going to wind up being something that's visible from both directions on Haynes Bridge. And the materials of all these, as we discussed, as Alex mentioned, some of the low walls is going to be all in Indiana limestone with a rather sophisticated kind of modern rustication that you'll see in some of these. What we're going to have at this point is we're going to have the word Lakeview sitting on the top of the wall and Alpharetta, Georgia 2022 incised into the wall. Behind this element, which will probably be on a berm on this corner, is going to be a sculpture that's yet to be designed. And what we're proposing here is a berm that's going to be maybe 3 feet tall. And then on the back side of that berm where the trees are showing, we discussed with Site Solutions the idea of putting a walking path back in that area with some benches that we were discussing in those tree areas in the back. And that's the area that was discussed as being a public space utilization in the retail area. The next page kind of shows you an aerial view of that same element with the sculpture object yet to be determined. And you can see the better view of that in the line back there behind the object. There's a line back there that kind of shows where those trees are. When we discuss this with Matthew Scott, we're going to be careful on where that path is going to go because we want to maintain the trees as they are currently. The next page shows the view at the intersection where you go down to Colonial project. And the design of these two entrances are going to be identical, virtually identical. There's some grading issues that may change it on this one versus the other one because it may be more of a flat plane. But the design that we've created here is a identity for the word Lakeview to be framed into this element that is made of 0.125 aluminum. The word Lakeview is going to be front glowing acrylic, and there's going to be a square scribe of a light in the frame. And then the other part of the internal lighting will be at those lantern elements that are on the corner posts. And those are going to be lit from the inside, again, LED white lighting. The in between the columns of limestone and the base of limestone is going to be a green wall. The green wall is either going to be a faux green material framed with a black painted aluminum, or it's going to be I think we talked this morning with Tyler, the potential of using a live material like a moss or like other materials that would go in between those areas. As we move to the next page.
Hold on a second, let's back up a minute to make sure. So the sign 2A, I'll call it, that's where the parking deck is right now.
Yes, it is.
So,
all
right.
What you see here is kind of a visualization of that parking deck. There's a rail behind it because there's a rather deep.
Because that parking lot or that parking deck cuts into the.
Cuts in about 15 feet
and
deep.
that's the top level of the parking deck, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, just trying to get oriented here.
That rail is something that.
The signage will be taller than the parking structure.
Okay.
We're basically going to try to lift it up a little bit to be able to get it level with the curb, because right now it kind of goes down a little bit on that right side.
Okay. Thank you.
The next page gives you a little bit more, a tighter view on what I'm talking about here with the signage. Again, the word Lakeview is going to be facelit. There's going to be a 3-inch depth on the letters, and there is going to be a horizontal there to hold up those letters at that point, but you're going to see through that frame at that point, just like you see through the light fixtures on the columns.
And where's the horizontal happening? Where's the sign support happening?
It's happening right behind it. It'll be like a polished stainless steel rod. These are all low voltage, so you don't have to have a big mass of a pipe back there, but it'll be
There'll be some, and it's in the center of the letters?
Yes.
For instance? Okay.
possibly 2 of them. We have to figure that out when they do the engineering on this.
Okay.
But everything that we've done as a firm, we're going to do, and the fabricator that we're bringing in here is going to be a very high-quality finish in terms of the 125 aluminum, so it's going to be very precise. All the edges are going to be super crisp. The lighting is going to be, I think, very sophisticated, and I think that the way that we've detailed the limestone is going to be in that similar modern fashion here and in other places throughout the
Real
project.
quick, I hear limestone, but earlier I heard that walls would all be the same material as the modular. Am I mixing that up?
There's 2 kinds of walls.
Okay, so these will be a limestone veneer. Okay.
Right, and what we're saying is that we chose a material for those site walls to be similar in character,
Okay.
not exact material.
I just misheard. That's my bad.
Okay. The individual, do you have a sample of the individual letters?
I don't, but
Like-
basically it's a channel letter that'll have a very tight, no grip around the edge. It won't be like a channel letter for a big box. It'll be the white will go all the way to the edge. It'll be about a 1/4-inch material on the front of a aluminum fabricated letter returning it. So you will see just a beautiful edge to the acrylic, not something grabbing it like you see at a big box.
Okay, and it's internally illuminated?
Internally illuminated with LEDs.
Okay, and how big are those letters? How tall
Those
is that?
letters are about a foot tall, so the square footage is, yeah, I don't remember exactly what I had on here, but I think they were about a foot tall.
Looking at the scale reference, that person that's in there, it's about this tall.
I got a copy.
And the framing, the aluminum framing, that will be painted?
It's painted, yes, it's painted black to match the same finish that we're using on the light fixtures, and I think on Colonial Building has a similar kind of finish.
And do we have a cut sheet of the light fixture? Is that part of yours? I don't remember it being a part of your
The
lighting
light fixture for
presentation.
these
Right.
elements of the signage, no.
We're going to have some wall washers in the ground plane that we hadn't worked out yet. So there'll be some wall washers that'll
So
hit the...
all that good stuff gets to come to us, all these cut sheets, colors and materials and all that gets to come back to us.
Those are, I'd want those to be fairly innocuous in the landscape, not something that's going to compete with the design of the wall.
And I'll say one more thing. When I heard the faux vine, I know what that product is. I'm not a fan of anything faux plantings at all at the front of the entry, so I would hope that you can get with Mr. Floyd as far as what that planting might be, whether, I heard moss will never work, but, get with those guys, make it a real plant of some type, it can't be necessarily like a creeping fig, because creeping fig will die off in the winter, but it needs to be a live plant.
So you need to have some soil down there then, too?
Yep.
Something to plant it in.
The problem with the faux is it's plastic, it fades. People come along and they start pulling on it, and, there's lots of issues with it.
Then you're going to need...
It looks cool,
You're
but
going to
not
need
for very long.
irrigation, too.
Need irrigation, too?
Okay.
We're investigating that right now.
I would like to just add what we are considering, which is a freeze-dried moss that applies directly to like a plywood substrate that lives outdoors. It doesn't require like an irrigation vacuum or a framing system. You can apply it directly to it, but we'll submit that information. But that's what's under consideration now.
Okay. And that'll grow in this elevation in sun?
In the winter?
We've used this in a couple different areas. We've got a project that has it in Cobb County right now, but it's actually dead, but it's freeze dried, and then they use a chemical and cure it for almost up to a year, and you can control the design, pattern, color, and it looks really great for a really long time. It's easy to replace. It's natural.
So say you've used this somewhere else?
Yeah, yes, sir. We've used it.
It'd be nice to see that.
Yeah.
When you come back, it'd be nice to see a picture of it or something. Okay. Wow.
Prove the skeptic wrong.
Okay.
The next couple pages are basically showing elevations of the two, of the entrances at of the signs. The sheet 2.3 basically is showing the another view of that, and then the next page is elevation of the opposite side. And the next sheet kind of shows the rustication pattern. What we've done is we've modulated some standard sizes that Indiana limestone has, and we've got it rusticated in such a way so it's not just rectangles, it's a series of dividing elements that are about 6 inches wide in between, and it'll, I think, give a nice look to the base. The next page shows some details on this that we used for obtaining the stone material and pricing. And the next drawing shows you that lantern piece. So the lantern piece is mounted on top of a base of limestone, and it has lighting on the inside edges only. So the inside edges of these elements are glowing. So it's going to have a bit of a glow, but not a tremendous amount of light is going to be thrown out of this piece. It's going to be more of an accent. The next page is the containment element for the green element here. So we've got it's not just a piece of extrusions in here. We've got it detailed in such a way that it does have some interesting look in terms of how we frame this greenscape element. The next page basically shows the polycore material, the grayish limestone material that we're going to use for this, which is a smooth finish limestone. The next page is showing the midpoint entrance, which is essentially the same design as the other design, other than maybe the grading varying on that. So as you see in that next drawing, there's going to be the townhomes on that, and then these will be on both sides of the road.
You get a little sneak peek of the townhome architecture.
I was going to say, is this representative similar to what's going to be the, okay, so it looks like it's 3 stories? Okay.
And as I said, it's a lot easier, pretty much flat pad at this area, so we're not going to have the same issue that we have with the other entrance. The next few sheets are elements that are probably going to, it sounds like it's going to go to the Art Commission, but we wanted to show you our strategy for what we're doing for the...
And that'll be in the revised sheets that were handed out to you.
Okay.
And these are, we've been asked by our requirements to have 6 sculptural events on the property. So what we've done so far is we've created 1 of them so far, actually created 3 of them so far, and then 3 of them yet to be determined. So we're going to create one at 1B, which is on the corner, which is yet to be designed. We've got another one at what I call 2B, which is the one that you see as a cube element that you'll see some more detail further.
And that's in the middle of the Lakeview roundabout. It's currently under construction.
There will be another one at 3B, which is going to be somewhere at the amphitheater at the top. 4B is going to be at the bottom of that drive as you come down near that pocket, at the very top edge of that pocket park, yet to be designed. And 2 of the elements, the 5B and 6B, have been requested to us by Alpharetta for the Alpha Loop, and we've created an option where we have a series of these I-beam elements with this kind of loop form that'll go at 5B at the intersection of the path at Haynes Bridge, and then 6B, which is going to go at the Lakeview part of the property. So the next few sheets are basically kind of showing you that element. So at the Colonial entrance, we've got this element on a berm that's going to be about a 2-foot high berm with monkey grass, and then this element is kind of floating in this circle, and then you see the entry elements beyond that. This will
When
be...
you say the Colonial entrance, what are you referring to?
I'm referring to the entrance up...
Is that the, okay.
Yeah.
Where the roundabout is? That's the.
At the roundabout,
Okay.
where the roundabout is.
So what he's describing now is the feature that would be in the center of that new roundabout that's under construction.
Okay, thank you.
And then this will be a series of elements that look like, I mean, they're made out of I-beams that are painted either a black or a cold rolled steel color. So the next few pages just basically kind of shows you the design intent of these pieces.
Is that representative of anything, or just because it looks cool?
It's actually, it's kind of related to the way we did the frame on the identity for Lakeview, and it's meant to be something of an architectural expression of modern expression.
Is there any,
Actually rotate?
It does not.
It does not.
It's going to be pretty heavy. So
is there
it's-
any concern about people climbing up on those, like kids?
Well, it's going to have monkey grass in there. If they climb up on it, it should hold it up. So, I mean, it's not going to be something that's going to keel over on them. We'll have a spread footer on this piece. But
Hopefully, it's in the center of a traffic circle.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's
You hope.
not a pedestrian.
Well, like the
development.
horse that was destroyed over in Milton, people do things, so.
Wait till the skateboard.
It was in the
get a hold
middle
of this
too,
one.
so.
Yes.
So this is on Lakeview Parkway, which is a public road. Back to the discussion we had earlier, right? Who maintains this going forward?
Yes.
I would say that the developer will be maintaining this as,
But the
it was a requirement of theirs.
developer goes away at some point, right? And then,
Yes.
It's a good point.
yeah.
Yeah. We had the discussion, Tyler, earlier of we've got in workshop, I don't know if you heard that one about an art piece put in the right of way and what happens to that in the future.
Give this to Pete. Pete will maintain it.
He's got enough
People
of it.
maintain, yeah, right,
He
yeah.
loves maintaining
Yeah,
it.
it definitely will not look like that when Public Works gets done with it.
Give it to Morgan. Morgan will take it.
He'll give it to
Morgan
Pete.
Roger.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure how, I mean, I think that,
We need to-
Avalon thing is in the DOT right away at Old Milton and the off-ramp, so,
It's a maintenance agreement that'll have to be entered into.
yeah, I'm not as concerned about a multi-use or mixed-use project like this as I am a project that's under a HOA management. I mean, this is gonna have a, professional management team for the entire site. So I think it's a valid concern, but I don't think it's
Yeah, but it's still in the right of way.
still in the right of way.
So somehow it has to be
So the city
an
takes.
agreement, yeah.
Well,
Maintenance agreement.
we even had the discussion about on the corner of Haynes and North Point, those signs, right? The big walls with the signs on them that haven't been power washed in 10 years, and I think you said there was some question as to who has responsibility for that, right?
Well, yes, and that's a little bit different situation than this. That's more of an HOA problem because those property owners, they're all different property owners and
Right.
they're actually owners where,
Okay,
so similar, but
yeah.
it has even more crazy involvement.
okay.
So,
Okay. I think that's the discussion to be continued.
Yeah, so on the, were you done with the sculptures, or are we?
no, there's a couple more, and the two other ones are going to enter into that same kind of discussion of maintenance, but this is
Yeah.
one that we designed as a gateway piece to the Alpha Loop, and it kind of relates to the logo of the Alpha Loop with this Mobius element that's in the middle. And then the next page was an alternative with a two-column version of the same thing. So there are two other ones. There'll be 5 total on the property, but several of them will be located off of the property. These Alpha Loop elements, I'm not sure if they're going to be part of our development or part of Alpha Loop in the end.
Yeah.
Who owns the Alpha?
Same question, yeah.
Yeah, who owns the Alpha Loop, Brett?
City does.
The city does, so
Yeah,
the
city
city will take care of these then.
City it will be maintaining the Alpha Loop. So as far as the signage and stuff, I don't know how that's gonna fit in these sculptural pieces. That's a conversation of way above my pay grade. But I do know that the developers are required to give an easement, whether it's just a maintenance easement or the land easement for the loop itself, and then the city will be maintaining them. So, I don't know yet.
Okey-doke.
I will say, though, that staff was very impressed with the presentation. That's like some great signs, some great design there, some high-end stuff. I think the signs themselves, I don't even know if you could really call them signs. I think they're all art. So good job.
If we go back to the corner of Lakeview and Haynes, that monument sign, is there any landscaping around that monument sign? In the picture, it looked like it was pretty much just turf.
We have not worked that out yet. That's something that we still need to coordinate with Site Solutions on the landscape on that.
That's probably something that, depending on the sculpture itself,
Depending on the sculpture, and so the intent would be to get that path behind, as we talked about within the landscape, maybe some benches back there to give some public space. And then the berm itself will kind of mitigate some of the traffic noise, so it'll be a pretty nice little space in the getaway.
Yeah, it seems ultimately it needs some landscaping.
Yes.
And the code call for landscaping around monument signs, as we discussed earlier, right?
The thought was that the berm would be covered with liriope monkey grass. So the berm itself would not be just lawn, because we don't want to maintain the lawn. We'd rather have it be something that just kind of flows, the grass flows. And then the trees will be maintained. Those trees that are there will stay behind the element. So this is in front of those trees.
Good point, very good point.
Yeah. I think if it's just sod, I think that's not interesting enough, but monkey grass perhaps.
I think the monkey grass
some
would
texture
look
to
good.
it.
Yeah, I think that'll give it a good, without revealing some of your early on stuff, is any of that we talked about still in play, or because that would kind of go well with the waving grass and, or is that?
I think it's not.
That's gone? Okay.
I love the contemporary vibe overall.
Yes. Well, I think, using some low landscaping materials will deter people from walking right up to it and try to climb on it or whatever they're gonna do. So you want something there, not just
Monkey
grass.
grass ain't gonna deter anybody.
Well, maybe.
Pat,
knockout roses. They're coming back. How about that?
Yeah, or that tree that has the really long thorns on it. Can we get that to grow like in a
Or maybe
hedge
poison
or
ivy.
something?
Perfect. Poison ivy, they won't go in there.
Well, I
I'll
think
take that
he
one,
had a
Jan.
copy
I got it.
already,
I've got
so we were.
Actually,
okay.
I didn't get some
You're
of
talking
those
about
that were
you're
new
talking
yet.
about that one?
Yeah.
I think this part of the presentation, this is more of a cursory review than it is on approval.
That's what I was wondering.
And, like the signage and a little bit more detail on this piece. So, but good, and looking good.
Well, the contractor will submit the final details, like you saw in that previous group's presentation. They'll submit the details of how the thing is actually made.
Oh, good, okay.
That's what you're looking for.
I don't know, though. I think we can go forward with, this is, that's what it's gonna look like. So I think we could move forward with site signage like that.
So you know what the individual letters look like? You're comfortable with that? And you know what the lanterns look like, and you're comfortable with
Well,
that?
the lanterns aren't really lanterns as far as you aren't gonna be able to go to a store and buy it. It's gonna be a piece that's made with that internal thing. So as far as being able to cut sheet it,
Up
probably
on the screen now, you see
like
they've
that,
got,
yeah.
Yeah, that,
they're a custom,
that one I was-
essentially a custom light fixture. You can describe the edge. But
Yeah,
again,
basically, the lighting is going to happen on the inside edge only. It's going to be a very limited glow. So if there's any little bit of halo light coming out of it, that's pretty much all. And you'll see the white light at the edges.
And the letters for the sign, are those about 24 inches each?
The letters are 12 inches. 12 inches, and they said, I mean, basically, it's going to be a piece of quarter-inch acrylic, and it won't be, as I said, it won't be like a typical strip center sign that has a edge wrapping it. It'll be just the white edge going to the end of it, and it'll look really crisp.
See from the scale reference shown on the drawing?
That's taller than 12 inches right
Yeah,
there.
that's more like 24, that's why I guessed that.
So-
Brett, could the
How tall is
sign-
that person?
This is 11, so.
Yep.
The sign, information, because there's very specific information about size of letters and how they're illuminated, correct? And that, what we just created? Sign guidelines?
There are
Right,
no-
but that's outside this area.
There are no sign guidelines.
that was
I mean,
for downtown.
Yeah, that was just for downtown.
I would like to see like pictures of what it looks like at night lit, how that looks like the halo look.
The letter and the,
And I'm struggling with the green,
Yeah,
moss.
We said basically no, they've got to redo that. The backdrop, because it's like plastic.
No, he said it's a freeze-dried moss.
Well, they have to represent.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the green wall is a concern because we don't know specifically what it's going to be, right? We need to get comfortable with exactly what it's going to be.
Well, they have some other places that've done it.
Yeah.
I'd like everything we see, I'd like to see dimensions of things, rather than just a silhouette of a person. Is that person 6 feet? Is that person 5 feet? Is that person 5'6"? I'd like to see dimensions and all this stuff, so,
Then it sounds like they need to come back. 'cause
yeah, it's what we require of every other applicant to present us.
We had a lot of dimensions on here, but you're missing a few of the dimensions, like the size of the letters and things like that.
okay.
Of course, it says scale, 1/8 inch equals 1 foot.
Hello?
Do you guys need another, should we recommend them bring another cut sheet of the lights, or do you feel comfortable with what this is?
I was okay with that,
I'm okay.
that picture of the lights. That gives quite a bit of detail on size there.
Brett, as John mentioned, would it be a next step
Everybody else.
for the sign constructor to come in and say, here are the particulars?
We just never got to it.
Well, I would have thought that would just be to me. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, to get a contractor to come in here and describe how he's gonna make it is not really, I mean, the design is the picture. But I'm feeling that there's multiple people that aren't comfortable with that. So I think at this point, if y'all go that way, he's gonna have to develop it even further with his contractor and bring in those schematic details.
I'm good.
Well, Alex, are you controlling the
I'm good
presentation?
with it.
Yeah.
So you were just scrolling through, and we never even made it to that part of some dimensions. Were you not just scrolling through some dimensions of things?
yeah.
Yeah, they were shown. We didn't talk about them, but they were all, yeah.
There, so
Those dimensions.
that's what I'm talking about there.
Yeah.
So as a part of this proceeding, then someone would make a motion that we accept the sign and graphic package the way it is, and we'd see how that goes. Is that correct?
Yes, and then if it goes that way, then the rest of the details would be, manufacturing details would be up to me.
Yeah, and that's very logical.
Now, as far as the, part of the issue is we're including some landscape in signage.
Right.
And I think that may be where the hang up is. So I almost want to separate that out and say, what you see green is not part of the signage, but then that puts the whole thing on, well, then what is the sign gonna look like? So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I mean, you know.
That's the only thing that we're not comfortable with. Could that just be?
I think if you make that clear, that what we're really not nailed down to is the landscaping parts of that, then I think at that point, David Floyd's group takes that over and says, this is what we need to put on here and that kind of stuff. Because I mean, that's not your expertise, so he has the vision, but it's really their deal to provide the material, you might say. So I think if you said we're comfortable with the signage, then I think Jan is done at this point, and we just take it over to the landscaping side. Yeah, with the condition that the landscaping or the green parts of it get reviewed back. We're not going to look again at the materials of the limestone and the shapes and the that kind of stuff. Just simply the green part.
Well, and I'd still like to see what it looks like at night, like what is a halo, like,
At Haynes and Lakeview.
that's just me.
What's the glow of it?
Yeah, what's the glow, what does it look like? I mean, is the whole thing lit up, is it just the edge? You know, I'd still like to see that.
It's got the green walls, the only thing.
It's got a better rendering or something.
3D visualization.
We move on to building.
Please.
11.
Yeah, I agree. I'm comfortable with the signs themselves. It's just this green wall and what is going to be the plantings around the monument at Haynes and Lakeview.
Okay.
I think that, yeah, I definitely think that part should come back in landscaping.
Yeah.
And that,
But the
and get
signs
that nailed
themselves,
down.
I'm okay with.
Yeah. As for the nighttime, it sounds like what I'm hearing is somebody's gonna have to create that for
Well, the
them.
nighttime is gonna, basically, the most bright part is gonna be the word Lakeview. It's white. It's gonna glow. The lanterns are gonna be fairly minimal. We're gonna try to get some uplighting on the sign element, so it's gonna look kinda like this with a dark sky.
So the Lakeview part is going to be facelit.
Facelit, yes.
Well, we
is it-
see
is it-
nighttime views all the time from other applicants.
Is it a clear? Is it, what
You know,
color?
It's
is it?
white,
It's white,
white acrylic,
okay, and it's LED lit?
LED inside,
Okay,
yes.
Still like to see it. I don't know why it's so different.
okay, all right.
I mean, it's gotta come back anyway.
What's next?
Multifamily building.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Conscious of time, are we okay? Do we need to take a?
Does anybody need to take a quick, short recess here while they get set up?
No,
Why don't we,
This is going to be long,
I
so
have
we
to leave
probably
at
should.
noon.
what time do you have to leave? By noon, all right, so noon is gonna be our cutoff. Give us just a few minutes to stand up, get the blood flowing, stretch our legs, you can get set up, so we'll take a short recess. Well, I have to leave at noon. He's gotta leave, Roger's gotta leave.
Pat's gotta leave, I've gotta leave, and she's gotta leave.
That leaves it up to Frank.
All right, so we'll have to go through it quickly.
Well, then I think we need to not take a break. If we're leaving in 30 minutes, we
Well,
need to take a break.
Well, we got. Okay. We've been here almost 2 hours.
We just have the building
Yes,
materials, right?
yes. Okay, thank you for that. Let's end our recess and get going again with TPA 400. On to the multifamily building.
I think, hang on one second, if you would, please. I think we need to have some motions on the other stuff before we start multifamily. If y'all are doing about in 30 minutes, I think we need to have some finalization for these folks on the other things rather than just leave them hanging on where we're at.
What are the order of the pieces that we need to resolve?
What do you want?
So let's see, I've got hardscape, landscape, lighting, monument signage, sculptures go to the Art Commission.
All right,
And then we'll
Mr. Chair, regarding DRB 210031, TPA 400, motion to approve the signs as presented today with the clarification that the applicant will return with the specifics on the green wall and the plantings around the Haynes Lakeview Monument sign as part of landscaping approval.
Owen's second.
Okay.
So as presented means what they handed out, right?
Yes, what they handed out.
So we have a motion by Mr. Swing, a second by Mr. Owens. And you mentioned signs, I guess that you're referring to
The
monument
monument
signs.
signs. Monument signs, right. That was the only signs presented, right?
All right,
While you were waiting.
all right, so,
We have a second, so
yes, we're in discussion, that's right.
So there's a couple things in there I didn't quite grasp, and I agree with Holly as far as what it looks like at night, and material samples, as well as, I guess there's some ground lighting going in somewhere that's uplighting some part of the structure as well. I wasn't sure where that was, so I'm not clear enough on all this stuff just to approve at this point in time.
Yeah, I think there's just enough
That's just me.
uncertainty to,
Yeah, I don't know, it seemed 98% clear to me.
I think staff can pick that up.
Clear enough that I thought staff could handle the details at that point. But
okay, any other comments or discussions about the motion? All right, there'll be none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? All opposed? 1, 2, 3, okay?
Wow, that's a close one.
Motion passes 4-3.
Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210031, I make the motion with regards to the photometrics and the lighting that we approve as presented today. End of motion.
Second.
Okay, have a motion by Mr. Brown, a second by Mr. Corco, and this is on the photometrics and lighting. Any comments or questions about the motion? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, all opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 7-0.
We're not approving the sculptures, that's art?
That's art.
that's our,
That would be the art.
we don't know anything about art.
Well, I'll take a stab at the landscape.
Okay,
I'll make the motion on DRB 210031, landscaping and hardscaping, that we approve as presented and handed out today, with the conditions that applicant shall explore the planting possibilities in the sanitary sewer easement with Fulton County, and the sports pads streetscape shall provide a greater level of landscape screen planting along the street. They'll work with staff to provide that landscaping and provide a longer lasting solution other than erosion control planting on the slopes.
Take a breath for Lauren really quick. You got all that?
I was looking for your hand to go
He's
up.
rocking.
I have the sport pad streetscape shall provide a greater level of landscaping along the street and to work with staff on that item.
Perfect.
And then finish, sorry, we were interrupted, the last part was dealing with,
Provide a lasting solution other than erosion control planting on the slopes, including a temporary irrigation system.
I kind of want that line. I hear it.
And I believe that is the end of my motion.
I'll go with the second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Corkle, a
Roger.
second by Mr. Brown.
Open all comments, because I certainly don't remember everything for sure.
So in my motion earlier, I threw the green wall and the plantings around the monument sign on Haynes Lakeview to landscaping.
Uh-huh.
Do you want them to?
Well,
I think
you,
would be okay. Applicant knows that the part of the landscape's gonna have to come back in relation to the signs. The landscape, I think we're okay.
I can bring it, yeah.
I mean, I agree that that wasn't part of the plan. How's
And you
that?
also said subject.
Wasn't part of his plan.
Yeah,
Right.
Didn't detail it.
didn't
So,
detail it, okay.
yeah, so the details of that part,
There was a lot of what-ifs as far as that signage went.
That part,
Might be monkey grass, it might be this, and it wasn't presented. The landscaping portion was presented in greater detail for sure.
that's part of the present, that's part of the presentation today.
Tyler and David, I'm kind of looking at you guys, you're good at coming back with that landscaping around the sign.
Basically, the sign is up.
I'm not so
Green
sure
wall.
the landscaping
Green
on the
wall.
signs was coordinated with landscape architect.
No.
And the green wall.
Okay,
All right.
Okay.
Frank, anything else in your?
Got it. Did we vote on that?
Not yet.
No, we haven't voted on it. Any other comments or questions about the motion? All right, there being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed, no opposition, motion passes 7-0. Okay, I think we've taken care of everything but what we're gonna hear from right now on the multifamily.
Even if they know that we have to leave at 12, we should give them the option to come back for what they're gonna do.
Well, we got 20 minutes.
We ought to at least go through it, so.
Yeah,
If you,
at least. Well, and plus the fact, I think things have changed
maybe
since,
we can throw some questions at them.
Can we do a site plan approval, just as a,
we've already,
I think it was I think that was part of the first one, but just in case anything is,
I don't think we did site plan, did
Yeah,
Is-
we did, it's changed a little, but it was approved in the June meeting, I think.
Vice Chairman Brown offered a motion to approve the site plan as presented today. The motion was received a second, and this was on May 15th, 2020.
did you present then all of where the multifamily was and all? That's kind of where I'm like, I think we need to do a site plan.
Do it again.
There's new extensions of street.
Yeah,
Do it again.
yeah, I think we need to do a site plan.
Okay?
I think it should be Vice Chairman Brown.
Since I did the last one, huh?
Yeah. Follow precedence here.
Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210031, in with relation to the site plan, I make the motion that we approve it as presented today in the motion.
All right, a motion by Mr. Brown, a second by Ms. Rocco. Any further comments or questions about the site plan? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 7-0 for the site plan. Okay, very good. All right, unfortunately, we have like less than 20 minutes to get through the multifamily building. So let's see what we can do.
Okay, here it is.
Okay.
You love it?
Well, we understood it's changed since our package was submitted to us, so,
Self-inflicted there.
okay.
Good morning. My name is John Lewis. I'm director of the multifamily studio at Nelson. I want to say thank you for everybody's time today. It's been a pleasant experience. I thank staff for comments that they've provided thus far and laying them through Alex to me so that I can relay them to our team to try to incorporate them. They've been very constructive and very helpful. So, yes, there's been a few changes. Fundamentally, there has not necessarily been any major changes from what was presented before. There's been changes to get us closer to what the original design intent was that was presented to City Council back a year and a half ago.
Okay.
But generally speaking, it's still the same building, if you will. A couple things to highlight. One of the things that we've been considering when designing this building has been looking at it comprehensively with the rest of the development, whether it be from the beautiful signage that was presented to you today to to the future townhomes being built in retail. Pardon me? And phase one. So, you know, you'll see the same color tones, the same color palette, the same clean contemporary lines in the building that you've been seeing thus far today. One of the other ways we've been trying to tackle this building is it's a big building. It's very long, especially as you front the main drag through the development. So one of our things we're trying to do is create a hierarchy in the building, you know, highlighting nodes, if you will. Like for instance, on the north elevation, the two end nodes being the corner pieces, and then the center node that is the entry, trying to create a more vertical tower elements in each three of those elements. And then we try to carry those around the building as they present themselves as important moments in the overall structure of the building. One of the reasons why we focused on the center node being the one that is the entryway into the parking deck is that it's directly across from the central plaza of the project. And it is also, you know, obviously highlights the entrance for residence parking, also retail parking, and for the Alpha Loop entrance through the multifamily to the backside of the property. So, you know, all those taking into consideration, they helped us generate the hierarchy, break up the overall elevation, which is quite long. As we turn the corner facing the plaza, also, let's talk about the retail real quick. And it was nice to listen to your workshop earlier today as you were talking about the retail and how it's been designed. And one of the ways we want to tackle that was not like Avalon in the sense that, you know, you have basically an empty shell for the retailer to come in and design around. What we wanted to do is present something that could be either utilized as already clean and contemporary and just you can apply signage to, or give them the option to spruce it up a little bit, which is one of the reasons why we tackled the amenity space. If you go back, Alex, one slide, we treated it a little bit differently from the rest of the retail part of the plaza or the retail pedestrian way, using a different materiality, showing that to potential tenants that you can do what you want here, or you can, you know, just go with the signage. You still got a good, clean, classic storefront retail design that you can utilize. As we wrap around the building to the pocket park side of the building, one of the things we try to do because of the scale of the pocket park and the neighbors across the street, essentially the townhomes, what we try to do is terrace the upper levels of it to try to pull it back, create a scale that's more relatable, not only to the pocket park, but to the townhomes across the way. And this is one elevation that, one of my favorite elevations actually of the project. I think it's one of our most successful ones for sure. And then essentially we take the same language and wrap it around the building, realizing, and I appreciate the conversation regarding the DOT right away and being essentially all the green being ripped out of those and exposing buildings that necessarily weren't ever meant to be exposed. I think one of the things that we've done is we allow that, we highlighted a few more of the nodes rather than trying to just say, okay, this is the backside of the building, no one's ever gonna see it. So we're trying to present those moments on that side of the building as well. From a materiality standpoint, like I said, we're trying to utilize some of the same design theories that's going on throughout as far as color palette, utilizing the same brick colors, you know, darker tones from colonial. If you guys want to see these, I can bring these up. Okay. And then more lighter tones such as limestone on the signage. And then as we go to our fiber cement product that will be on the project as well, on the in-between spots of the brick, the interstitial spaces and in the balconies, you know, we'll use a lot of fiber cement panel reveal system, which is a little bit more of a modern edge than say your fiber cement board and batten system, a little more traditional, a little more residential. So this type of system will provide a little bit more of that contemporary feel.
Is that the actual color of the?
No, the colors will be, yeah, that's kind of the stock thing. Colors will be a mixture of this lighter material, which you could see, I can't see what it's.
Two or three.
Yeah, 2, and then the fiber cement lap siding, which we are using on the project in the recesses for the balconies, will be the darker color, and I believe we're also using this in a few spots on the panel. But you know, one of the things with the lap siding, and I know it's very residential, and it can make you know, it can make people a little bit nervous, especially on a project that this commercial, you know, it's very essentially a commercial project. Is one of the things we want to do is, and we've done in the past and to a lot of success, is utilize what we call a alternate exposure lap siding, where we'll use a few rows of 8-inch exposure, then like 4 or 5 rows of 4-inch exposure, creating a texture in the lap siding that makes it look a little bit less of a residential product and more of a commercial product, more like, almost gives it more of a metal siding sort of variety to it. So
You have some photographs or anything of that?
not with us, and I apologize for that, but I can definitely get some to staff to share with y'all where we've executed that.
With a, God, good. I was just gonna say, the mortar color, is it gonna match the brick?
We haven't gotten that far yet, but I think it would be in the same color family.
It's sort of a grayish color.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want it to necessarily feel totally monolithic, but you know, having it so it's not like highlighter in between the brick.
It won't be a bright
modules.
white, it'll be a more of a, almost sort of a buff concrete type color.
Okay.
The cement panels, do they have, is that that framework around them, or?
Yeah, and that varies. It's just similar to what we use.
Is that example
It's usually, you can get it in a color to match the paint so that it disappears, or you could do something like that where it kind of makes it stand out. And they also, they have varying reveals that make it almost seem like it's gone, and it's just.
Yeah. So you haven't decided on that yet? No.
Not quite there yet. But we utilize that a lot at the Battery, and it's utilized at Avalon also.
And those 2 brick, the darker brick there is the one that's, wasn't there 2 different colors? Wasn't there a gray and a black, or no?
Yeah, this one.
It's just the lighter gray. Okay.
It's more on the white.
So you just have the 2 brick. For some reason I thought I saw. It's, oh, I see. It's changed from what, okay. So it's, got it, okay.
But you can see some of the games we played in the corner, you know, trying to get it back towards where it was in the city council presentation. You mentioned pulling the balcony over and pulling the glass out to the front to kind of create a greater highlighted front, which I think is awesome that we were able to get it back to there, because that was one of my favorite things of those renderings as well.
Yeah, so that specific piece kind of on the right-hand side there where he's showing his arrow, that's in the renderings you have in your packet, it shows that railing coming all the way across, and I think it just reads completely different as a corner feature without that railing being there. You know, I mean.
Yeah, that's one of the things, you take a conceptual design that's presented to city council and you try to turn it into a building.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're programming the units, and all of a sudden, an element that was so great disappears. And hopefully, and we were able to find a way to incorporate it into the.
I think that makes those units very, very unique in Alpharetta. I can't think of another unit in Alpharetta that's going to have a floor-to-ceiling, basically. Ceiling might be down a little bit, but basically floor-to-ceiling glass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to give you that in-town feel.
Yeah, well, the window wall feel, I mean, you usually don't see it very often on this product type. You know, it's usually a high-rise product or
I'm going to bet that those are going to be very highly sought-out units.
So that's my question. What is happening behind the glasses? Are all living units?
Yeah, well, with the exception of the lowest level.
And lowest level is like a lobby?
Retail. Yeah, it's retail.
Low level retail. So those are all habitable units.
Are we gonna have like curtains and blinds and some open and some closed and?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to figure out how that's gonna work. Obviously, privacy for the residents is important. Some.
So, because when they're closed,
not
they
so
lose all that.
John, how would you describe the architecture of this building?
You know, more transitional. It's you know, it's got some traditional elements in the brick with, you know, proper soldier coursing and, you know, and stuff like that. But I think, generally speaking, it's clean line, more leaning contemporary than traditional.
Okay. So it's got you got some soldier courses and roll-locks, and you're doing some stuff with the brick
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
So do you have details of that to show us?
Yeah, you can see at the top, at the parapet, we were showing details like that. And, you know, anywhere where we'd have punch openings, you know, I mean, we would probably try to articulate that way. But at the same time, we want to be smart with it. We don't want those elements to traditional brick detailing to 100%, you know, overpower the contemporary lines. So, you know, we may, you know, be looking at some more soldier coursing and stuff over the storefront elements and the retail, stuff like that.
I was just looking at the Eco District guidelines, talk about the architectural building style is eclectic in nature and leans towards a mercantile or eclectic industrial vernacular. So I'm trying to figure out how this, you guys wrote these guidelines, how this fits into the guidelines.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously the retail level is certainly mercantile. I think I feel like it's somewhat traditionally designed in that sense. I wouldn't necessarily have considered the initial renderings that were presented to City Council as fitting that description either. But if that's the direction we need to take it, it's certainly a direction we want to explore. You know, so, you know, that feedback and providing that to us is important, and we'll definitely take it into consideration to see if there's a place that we can try to incorporate more of that.
Okay.
I think staff felt like your materials helped that architecture as well with the cement material and not trying to hide it as a precast brick or, you know, something like that. Leaving that all glass bottom really pushes you towards mercantile.
Right.
You know, not a real heavy, all traditional cornice at the top kind of leads that way as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I think there's maybe some more you could work on getting there as you finalize it, but I think the materials are a big part of.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I think that vernacular varies. I mean, you can see cleaner line mercantile buildings, or you could see heavily detailed, brick detailed mercantile buildings all in the same vein.
Exactly, and I think the eclectic part of that description is where you mix a lot of that.
Right.
You got this traditional element with this modern element,
Right.
and
And that's, if I could interject, I mean, that's what I was gonna say, that we worked, you know, pretty hard with the team to look at like these corner elements, that central element, some of those feature elements around the building to look more like those corner sort of loft style elements, which are more industrial in nature, sort of loft style, and then other elements on sort of the middle portions, which, so it has a little bit of that eclectic feel to it. You've got some of the loft industrial style components at the ends, and then more sort of, you know, residential looking, contemporary residential pieces in the middle, very similar in nature to some of the character that are coming from the townhome pieces as well. So, I think it does have you know, at least in my view, sort of a very eclectic feel to it, you know, with elements of sort of that loft style and sort of traditional, or I would say traditional contemporary, but, you know, sort of that contemporary style residential architecture.
Can you go to 3.1? And it's the same on 3.2. Maybe it's just how the computer generated, but where you have this, the cementous panels, the panels, but then down below it looks different. Was that just?
That's
brick.
That's brick.
That's brick down below? Because
Yeah.
it didn't show it up front. It didn't indicate that it's brick. It showed the retail is brick. But it didn't, that's why, I
Yeah.
just couldn't tell.
That section right there.
Showed the retail is brick, but not the residential.
those two floors, right?
Right, yeah, the bottom two floors.
Yeah, those lower two floors.
Floors are
They
brick.
are brick in the residential? Okay.
Yes.
Like, right there where I'm highlighting with the cursor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just wasn't indicated up front, so it threw me off.
Yeah, which is a change, right? Because in the package we had, it was one floor of brick.
Yeah,
Now it's.
yeah, they've added,
two-floor
added some
brick,
additional
right?
brick, yep, yep.
Good, good. You have that big sample of the aluminum panel, corrugated aluminum panel?
We don't yet. One of the things, that, we're looking at, this is a piece of fiber cement corrugated panel. It'd be similar to this, in visually speaking. We haven't got the exact sample of that yet. It'd be something along these lines aesthetically anyway.
Okay, yeah, that stood out because that's unique. I don't remember seeing that before.
Okay, so in effort to get you all out of here when you need to go, obviously they're going to have to come back. They know they've got some details to nail down. Is there anything in particular quickly that you want to, that we've seen or heard or didn't see that you definitely want them to bring back next month, or anything you're really concerned about?
I think some of the detailing, we'd like to see that, to get that eclectic and that mercantile feel to, looks like you're working on that.
Yeah.
Make sure you bring all your materials back in that we've talked about
Yeah.
to show us. Anything else from board members trying to?
Well, I see how
Yeah.
what the final decision is on the frames around the cement
Yeah.
panels.
Yeah, I was just,
We need to see awnings, railings.
Any lighting? You got exterior lighting on the building?
yeah, we do, and it's all,
So,
slide we hadn't talked about, but it's kind of
Okay.
in the same, carrying the same theories through more contemporary looking light fixtures.
Okay. All
Are
right.
you guys doing any wall wash type stuff? I know you're, you
Yeah.
got to get your lighting team in there somehow right on the building to.
Yeah, but definitely want to highlight areas of the building like, at nighttime, like.
Yeah, so maybe how they,
Elements so that they're highlighted, we could probably come up,
they do a pretty good job, that team does a pretty good job at showing those nighttime
yeah,
things, so maybe a couple of those, how you're thinking that's gonna fit in and highlight.
absolutely. There's been plenty of those.
Anybody have
And
anything
then,
else, or?
when do you anticipate having a signage package? Because that also will impact kind of some of the architecture.
I would anticipate, and I'll interject a little bit for you, Tyler. I would anticipate, because of conversations we had just had last week about what may be happening in the retail side across the little driveway, across, not Lakeview, but the internal drive, that may need to get a little further developed on that end before they go with signage for the retail side, because that could really affect how they do signage. So I would guess that probably a couple months down the road, I would think, or more maybe, might be the retail signage and that kind of stuff come, and that may come maybe with with those retail buildings over there. Is that fair?
That's accurate, and that's what we're projecting. Yes, sir.
So, that front corner piece was all retail out there, so there's something in the works that may or may not happen. They're still working whether they even want that to happen like that. So I think that needs to get flushed out just a little bit before they push that package.
All right, very good. Anything else from board members at this point? All right, want to thank you for your time. I guess we need a motion to defer.
I think we just defer, yeah. I
At this
think
point.
you've got enough comments about what to bring back and what we're thinking about, so.
All right, Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210031, TPA 400, motion to defer elevations and materials for the multifamily building.
That's second.
Go ahead.
All right, have a motion by Mr. Swing, a second by Mr. Owens. Motion is to defer. Any comments or questions about the motion? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 7-0. All right, very good. Thank you for your time. So our next meeting is Friday, July 16th. So I assume we'll see you then? Okay, very good. All right, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it. There being no further business and with no objections from fellow board members, this
Oh, I don't know. I think we should hang around a couple more hours.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I want.